Chapter 590. The genius Mi Cheng was a vast and ancient city. It was also extremely mysterious. It was said that that city was even older than Shuiyu. Before the name, Shuiyu, existed in the continent of the Nine Clouds, the name, Mi Cheng, already existed. But for most Shuiyu people, Mi Cheng was considered as a shadow city. It was mysterious and unknown. All they knew that every 10 years, for the great competition of Shuiyu, people gathered there. Actually, in normal times, people were not allowed to go there. They were allowed to go there only for the great competition of Shuiyu. Nobody could visit that city at any other time. Rumors said that the city was usually enveloped by a dense fog, as if it hadn't been a part of Shuiyu at all. Many people had tried to find the city in the past but had never found it. It was extremely mysterious. They kept getting lost over and over. Now, the great competition of Shuiyu was about to start, like every 10 years, and Mi Cheng was visible again. The dense fog enveloping it had disappeared. That gigantic city was visible again in the middle of Shuiyu. People were heading to Mi Cheng from all corners of the map and in huge quantities. Some people were coming because of the great competition of Shuiyu, while some others were actually just coming to visit that mysterious city. In other words, that holy land was being surrounded by people coming from all places of the region. Of course, Mi Cheng was so vast that there was no problem. It could accommodate all those people. Mi Cheng was much vaster than any imperial city in the empires of Shuiyu. Some people even conjectured that Mi Cheng was bigger than the imperial cities of the four empires together. That sounded boundless. At that moment, in an area at the corner of Mi Cheng, there were some dark dots. People were stupefied and saw many ferocious wild beasts flapping their wings in the sky. They were blotting out the sky and covering up the earth, looking like asteroids. It seems like one of the empires has arrived, thought some people. They looked so majestic, so dignified, so incredible. They were obviously there for the great competition of Shuiyu. Many people's silhouettes flickered. They were moving in the distance. They wanted to see which empire had arrived, and also wanted to see how strong those people were. During the competition, the atmosphere was going to be bustling and lively. At the same time, in another corner of Mi Cheng, the same thing was happening. Ferocious wild beasts were flying in the sky. Another empire had arrived. Lin Feng was on a black hawk looking down at the ground. That city was really extremely vast and there was no fog around it. Everything appeared clearly in his field of vision. The architecture of Mi Cheng was absolutely different from that of the other cities he had been in. It didn't look imposing and grand at all. There weren't huge open spaces between the buildings. On the contrary, everything was as closely linked as flesh and blood. Buildings were not far from each other, and on top of that, there was a dense and thick ancient qi emerging out of that city. Mi Cheng. We're here, thought Lin Feng. He felt exhausted. They had been traveling for 7 days. Even though the wind hadn't affected him much, 7 consecutive days of flying in the sky wasn't pleasant. At that moment, the oppressive sensation he had had in the air had disappeared. The ferocious wild beasts were all slowing down and Lin Feng felt much better. Apart from that, he was also excited. He had finally arrived in Mi Cheng. He had been craving to go there for a while. Everybody was excited about it and the competition. They could all be proud of themselves. They were going to participate to the great competition of Shuiyu. They were looking forward to becoming incredibly strong cultivators. The beasts were still flying. They didn't stop. Ruolan Shan was in the front and he was staring at the crowd on the ground. They flew above Mi Cheng for a few hours and at some point, a gigantic field appeared. There was a fighting stage on it. It was a gigantic and boundless-looking fighting stage. Some people were around the stage and looking at them. Is that where the great competition of Shuiyu is going to take place? Asked some people at that moment. It was gigantic. They were going to be on that stage. Billions and billions of people were going to watch them. Yeah. In the distance, a beast emitted a sound. Everybody raised their head and gazed into the distance. Immediately after, they saw another vast and boundless group of people, just like them. They were precisely the people who had come from the other direction. That group of people was composed of about 100 people, just like them. All of them was releasing a monstrously strong chi. They were obviously from another empire. The other empire and the countries under its jurisdiction had also brought a few influential people, just like Dragon Mountain with the Cosmic Pavilion, or even some people from the Wanxiang sect and so on. After a short time, those people stopped in the air and faced each other. They didn't land. Dragon Mountain Empire, said the leader of the other group while looking at them. Ruolan Shan also looked at them, remained silent for a moment and said, Magnolia Empire. When the other heard Ruolan Shan, he smiled and said, It seems like you were right. I had thought that we would be the first ones to arrive, but in the end you arrived first. You're very fast. No, we arrived at the same time, said Ruolan Shan while smiling. He kept glancing at all the young men from Magnolia. They were the protagonists this time. They were going to join the great competition of Shueyu, so they were going to threaten the outstanding young men from Dragon Mountain. The people whom Ruolan Shan was watching were also glancing at the people from Dragon Mountain, especially Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu and Qing Meng Xian, which made them smile. There are some really impressive geniuses in Dragon Mountain, said their leader while smiling. Even though he was making a compliment, he still looked relaxed. I heard that on your side there were 2 incredible geniuses who were going to participate to the great competition of Shueyu, Jun Mo Shi, whom I just saw, and Duan Wudao, where is he? Said that person, which stupefied everybody. He knew them very well. Besides, he knew what Jun Mo Shi and Duan Wudao looked like, and he knew their names. They were famous even in the Magnolia Empire. That simple sentence was full of meaning though. Jun Mo Shi and Duan Wudao were the most dazzling cultivators of the Dragon Mountain Empire and the countries under its jurisdiction. Jun Mo Shi, Duan Wudao. The crowd knew that Jun Mo Shi was the best cultivator of Dragon Mountain, but how come Duan Wudao was so famous? He wasn't talking about Tang Yu or Qing Meng Xian, but about Duan Wudao. People from Dragon Mountain were astonished and a bit upset. Why was a person like Duan Wudao considered the same as Jun Mo Shi? Duan Wudao will arrive soon, said Ruolan Shan. He then looked at 2 silhouettes on the other side and said, Qi Qing Jian Ling Shao and Lu Yu Qin Yu Shao Shao are also here. Qi Qing Jian Ling Shao and Lu Yu Qin Yu Shao Shao. On the side of the Dragon Mountain Empire, everybody was stupefied. They looked at those 2 people, a young woman and a young man. The young man looked like a hero, the girl was incredible beautiful, they looked extraordinary. How extraordinary! People were astonished. Those 2 people looked frightening, and their names were really special. They're here. Jun Mo Shi is there too. So now let's get down. Let's hope that Duan Wudao, Xue Sha, Ku Yaotong Ku Mu, Xue Diling and Ba Gua Yan Yuemo will not disappoint us. Xue Sha, Ku Yaotong the Dead Tree, Xue Diling and Ba Gua Yan Yuemo. The crowd remembered those names, with Duan Wudao, Qi Qing Jianling Shao, Lu Yu Qin Yu Shao Shao and Jun Mo Shi. Those 8 people were the most outstanding of the entire region. Everybody looked forward to seeing them. Chapter 591, Altogether. 8 people, 4 empires, including the countries under their jurisdiction. But in the end, there were 8 people who were absolutely incredible, real geniuses. Each empire almost always relied on 2 people. It seems like fighting against those 8 people will be difficult. Very difficult, thought the other young people. 7 people were as famous as Jun Mo Shi in the region of Shueyu. Those 8 people could monopolize everybody's attention. Actually, finishing in the top 9 was extremely difficult. Of course, some people were not feeling discouraged. It made their willpower and determination even more solid. Even though those 8 people were strong, there were probably some ways to defeat them, especially that some people had never shown their true powers. Nobody knew how strong some people really were there. Some people had only shown a part of their strength. Let's land, said the Magnolia person, and then the ferocious wild beasts immediately landed. Ruolan Shan glanced at the people behind him and said, let's get down too. the people from Dragon Mountain also started nose-diving down to the ground and landed on the gigantic field. Initially, there were many people around that field, but when they saw those people land, they started crying out in alarm. Tianming! Shouted someone at that moment. Yu Tianming was stupefied and turned his head. Lin Feng also looked in that direction. There was Yu Qingshan and he was waving at Yu Tianming. Of course, Yu Qingshan had also come as an observer. The great competition only happened once every 10 years after all. Wu Qing, I am here, said a voice at the same time. Wu Qing turned his head and saw a silhouette. It was someone from the Wanshou sect. He then recognized the patriarch of the sect, Ting Wu Yao. He had also come in person. Wu Qing had been selected to participate to the great competition of Shuiyu. It was a great honor for them, so those people from the Wanshou sect had traveled over a huge distance to see him on the fighting stage. Yu Qin, Yu Jian, the patriarch of the Yu clan, Yu Lu Shui, was there as well and called out the two brothers. The Yu clan was extremely proud. 2 of their people were participating to the great competition of Shuiyu, therefore they had also happily come to Micheng. So many people have come, said many people around Lin Feng. Those people had used up so much energy to come to Micheng from Shuiyu. Apart from people from Shuiyu, people from Dragon Mountain had come too. All those people had left much earlier to arrive. Alright, people who want to go and have a walk by themselves, you're free to go. Here is the place where the great competition of Shuiyu will take place, so don't go too far. When the Black Wings Empire and the Firmament Empire arrive, it will be the beginning of the competition, said Ruolan Shan while looking at the entire crowd. He then added, we are in Micheng, so be careful, here nobody can protect you apart from yourself. Alright. Understood. Everybody nodded and immediately after, their silhouettes flickered. Most people were going towards their family members and friends. Yu Tianming arrived next to Yu Qingshan, who looked surprised and asked, Tianming, how come I haven't seen him? Yu Tianming obviously knew whom Yu Qingshan was talking about, Lin Feng, Yu Qingshan's other grandson, even if they weren't talking to each other. Yu Qingshan had hoped that Yu Tianming could defeat Lin Feng at the great competition of Shuiyu. That would have been a majestic and official way of defeating him. Thus, Yu Tianming would have been able to prove that Lin Feng wasn't qualified to marry Duan Xinyi. Grandfather, he disappeared, said Yu Tianming indifferently. Yu Qingshan was astonished. He disappeared. Yu Qingshan couldn't believe it. Lin Feng had disappeared? Yes, indeed, I think he had offended too many people and then he disappeared without leaving trace. It happened during one night in Celestial Dragon. Yu Tianming then continued, speaking very slowly, that's quite inauspicious as far as he's concerned. I guess he must be dead. Inauspicious? Yu Qingshan was stupefied. He had mixed feelings. He didn't know to think, but it wasn't such a good feeling to learn about Lin Feng's death. Lin Feng had disappeared and died? Wouldn't Yu Menghe be crushed if she learnt about it? She would be inconsolable. Her heart would be shattered into 1,000 pieces. Yu Qingshan was feeling extremely sad at that moment. Ha, he died. If he had really died, then that would be so great. At that moment, while Yu Qingshan was lost in thought, someone started laughing not so far from him. It was Ting Wu Yao. He was laughing wholeheartedly. He was so happy about Lin Feng's death. Lin Feng had offended so many people from the Wanshou sect. He would have even destroyed their sect if he had been alive. He was dead. That was perfect. Such happy news. That's the result for having offended so many people and for having been so aggressive. Yu Lu Shui was laughing coldly too. He knew that Yu Qin and Yu Jian had actually played an important role in his death. They had told him. They had meticulously established such a great stratagem and it had worked. For them, Lin Feng was like a tumor and finally they had destroyed it. They were so happy. If Lin Feng had still been alive, he would have been a huge threat for the Yu clan. It was better for them if Lin Feng was dead. How could they know that the one they thought was dead was, at that moment, holding the hand of a young girl? They had thought about 1,000 ways to kill him, but he was still there. He was there in the middle of that group, and he was smiling in a resplendent way, but looked sick. Lin Feng was paying attention to those people's reactions. They thought he was dead and were so happy about it. But he was there, next to them. Unfortunately, they would be disappointed. Lin Feng was still alive, he was perfectly fine, and they would be surprised to see that he was fine. Where are the people of the Imperial City? Thought Lin Feng while smiling and glancing around at the crowd. It seemed like the people from the Imperial City hadn't arrived yet. Duan Wudao wasn't there yet, Duan Wuya hadn't arrived either. Lin Feng didn't believe that Duan Wuya wouldn't come to at least to watch the competition. Chapter 592, Heroism, Fuel. While Lin Feng was glancing around, some whistling sounds spread outwards in the air. Lin Feng raised his head and saw some jet-black lights in the sky. He was stupefied. That was a terrifying chi, a terrifying killer chi. When Lin Feng saw those black lights, he had the feeling that that chi could influence people's determination. Many people looked there, they were stupefied, that chi was way too strong. Coffins, those things are coffins. Those pitch-black things in the sky were becoming distinct in the field of vision of the crowd. People started shaking. That black cloud was actually composed of gigantic coffins. The Tian Sha sect from the Black Wings Empire. Many people narrowed their eyes and realized that those coffins looked like those of the Tian Sha sect from Black Wings. Coffins were the symbols of their sect. The Tian Sha sect had arrived, and other people from Black Wings would probably arrive sooner or later as well. People from the Tian Sha sect. Here you are again, thought Lin Feng. Back then, in Celestial River, he had seen some. They wanted to steal the heavenly green dragon cauldron. They had traveled across a huge distance to go to Celestial River in Shuiyu. Those people traveled in coffins and their chi was extremely evil. Those coffins were flying in the sky, abruptly stopped and then started landing. Boom boom boom. Those coffins then brutally crashed onto the ground, emitting loud sounds. The crowd looked in their direction. It seemed like death had fallen. Shui Sha, why are you still hiding in there? Are you dead or alive? A voice spread in the distance. People raised their heads and saw a livid silhouette approach. That person moved over a kilometer with each step. In a flash, he arrived in the sky above the crowd. What a strange person, thought the crowd. That person seemed dead. The chi of a dead tree was emanating out of him. Besides, he had just pronounced a name. Shui Sha. It was the best disciple from Black Wings, Shui Sha. So that person was Ku Yao Tong, the dead tree. When people realized that, they looked at him and realized that they were right. He had black eyes and seemed dead. Kacha. A sound startled everybody. Kacha, kacha. Some coffins started opening themselves. The crowd gulped down while staring at those coffins. They were wondering what kind of person Shui Sha of the Tian Sha sect was. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the sound of a loud spread in the air and startling people to death. Their hearts started pounding violently. A terrifying chi rose up in the air. It was black. Finally, the chi slowly dispersed and a young man appeared. He looked quite handsome, but in that handsomeness, there was something scarily animal, wild, murderous. His pupils looked terrifying, bloodshot. Shui Sha from the Tian Sha sect, Ku Yao Tong the dead tree. Two people came out of the crowd made of magnolia people. A young man and a young woman. That young man was carrying 7 ancient swords. It was Qi Qing Jian Ling Shao, and the girl was carrying an ancient zither, Lu Yu Qin Yu Shao Shao. They were outstanding and dazzling cultivators. When they saw Shui Sha and the dead true, they couldn't help but move forwards. However, Jun Mo Shi remained indifferent and remained aside. He didn't go and face those people. Whistling sounds kept spreading in the air and piercing through people's eardrums. The sun was blotted out and there were only coffins in the sky, a sea of coffins. They were all emitting whistling sounds. Other people from the Tian Sha sect were following Shui Sha. Besides, Behind those coffins, there was a huge crowd and an army of ferocious wild beasts. The Black Wings Empire had arrived in Micheng. There was Dragon Mountain, Magnolia and Black Wings. 3 empires had arrived and one was still absent, the Firmament Empire. I heard that Di Ling has the Firmament blood. He is extremely strong, nobody can stop him. This time, everybody expects him to be the winner. I wonder what he looks like, thought some people. Di Ling had the strength of the Firmament blood. He had amazed everybody in the Firmament Empire. In other regions, everybody knew his name. He was extremely strong and powerful. There's Ba Jie Yen Umo as well. It is said that he is monstrously powerful, that he is the strongest one and probably will be the winner. We're just waiting for those two. Even though the great competition of Shui hadn't even started, everybody was already terribly excited. They would finally have the opportunity to see the strongest people from the 4 great empires, especially those 8 people who were authentic geniuses. Their names were famous in every corner of the Shuiyu region. Those 8 people were going to be those in control of the region in the future, and would maybe even reign over the continent of the 9 clouds. Maybe their cultivation levels were going to increase drastically to become Zun cultivators. They would find out who would have such a future. Lin Feng was still there. He was glancing at the people on the stage and his eyes were twinkling. Those people were real geniuses. Lin Feng felt heroic, high-spirited. He was going to battle against those people. Why couldn't he be there with them? Admired by everyone, applauded, he was down the fighting stage and nobody admired him. He was quiet, nobody knew him, and nobody wanted to kill him anymore at that moment. Lin Feng had to become stronger and walked further on the path of cultivation. However, Duan Wudao's name was famous everywhere. He was one of those 8 dazzling cultivators in the region of Shuiyu. When Lin Feng was still in Shuiyu, he had never realized that Duan Wudao had such an influence abroad. He had had to go out to realize that. Besides, at that moment, 2 horses ran into Miqing through its gate. Those 2 horses were red like blood. On those horses, there were people in armors. They were wearing ancient bronze masks. They looked fierce and tough. We arrived in Miqing. I don't know if Lin Feng came with the people from Dragon Mountain or not, said one of that person while looking at the crowd. They looked excited. They had needed 1 month to come to Miqing by horse. They had been traveling days and nights. From Shuiyu to Miqing, they had arrived at the perfect moment. The competition could start any time. He must be there already, said the other after a while glancing at the crowd from under the mask. Here, at the moment, no matter if people are foreigners or local, they are all extremely strong. For us, in Shuiyu, people of the Ling Qi layer are very strong and those of the Xian Qi layer are monstrously strong, but here the Ling Qi layer is considered as miserable, and there are tons of cultivators of the Xian Qi layer. Yes, Han Man, even though we've broken through to the Xian Qi layer, we're less than nothing here. Ha, Pajun, that's what I want to see. We will feel spirited next to those incredibly strong cultivator. I don't how strong Lin Feng is now. He's going to participate to the great competition of Shuiyu, so he must have broken through the middle of the Xian Qi layer already, said Han Man while smiling wholeheartedly. They had traveled across a monstrous distance to Miqing. Lu Tsanglan had told them to come to see Lin Feng. At the same time, they would be able to see outside and explore the world. Lu Tsanglan had taught them how to think by themselves. He had taught them how the world was and that they had to be open-minded. Leaving was the only way to become much stronger. If they stayed in Shuiyu forever and never left, if they never saw how vast the world was, if they didn't authentically strong cultivators, they would never become stronger. Let's go, let's find our fellow, Lin Feng. Iya. The 2 Qixie horses then galloped at full speed on the huge road of Miqing. Chapter 593, Di Ling and Wu Dao. On the huge and vast field were billions of people with more and more arriving. They were the people from 3 empires. In the middle, there were 5 incredible geniuses. Everybody wanted to be next to them to see them. Di Ling and Ba Guan Yen Umo from the Firmament Empire hadn't arrived either. They were the 2 geniuses of Firmament. They were incredibly powerful geniuses. They have arrived, it must be them. At that moment, all sorts of comments were spreading in the crowd, people were gazing into the distance, as expected, some people on ferocious wild beasts were arriving. Those people looked like those who had just arrived, their chi was monstrously strong and majestic, they hadn't arrived and yet the crowd could already sense their chi, they were so strong. Everybody arrived so quickly, said a voice in the distance while some people were approaching. Besides, at that moment, a silhouette appeared, it was flying as swiftly as a goose, then it started descending like a falling tree leaf before finally landing on the huge field. UMO from the Firmament Empire is late, thought the crowd while looking at the 5 cultivators who had already arrived. They were all monstrously strong, they had come especially to see those people. Qi Qing Jian, you have 7 ancient swords, Lu Yu Qin, you are a beautiful woman, the Firmament Empire can be proud of its 2 geniuses. Said Umo while looking at them, they were easy to recognize. You probably are Shui Sha of the Tian Sha sect. And you must be Ku Yaotong the dead tree, said Umo while looking at them. He could recognize all of them and then he looked at Jun Mo Shi, smiled and said, in total, there are 4 empires participating in the great competition of Shuiyu as well as 9 countries under their jurisdiction. Surprisingly, there is only one genius from Dragon Mountain, the other is from a country under its jurisdiction, Shuiyu. You are the one from Dragon Mountain, you must be Jun Mo Shi. Umo, you're quite smart, said Jun Mo Shi while smiling. Umo's eyes were very particular, they were entirely white which gave people the impression they could drown into them. So one person must be missing, Di Ling, said Umo while smiling. He knew that only 8 people were considered as the strongest cultivators of the great competition, himself as well as 7 others. All the others couldn't rival with them and meant nothing to Umo. Apart from those 8 people, there were many other geniuses, for example Tang Yu and Qing Meng Xian, but Umo didn't care about such people, he didn't even think about them. When will Di Ling arrive? Asked someone at that moment. Umo laughed and said, he's here already, but he just hasn't shown himself, that's all. Boom boom boom. At that moment some rumbling sounds spread in the air. The crowd opened the way for somebody, that person was bathed in a red light which dashed to the skies. That person's chi was extremely brutal. Boom boom boom. After each step that person made, even though they seemed like light steps, people's hearts were shaking violently. Di Ling, possessor of the firmament blood. The crowd was stupefied, he was terrifying. He was very young and was diffusing the chi of a peerless cultivator, he seemed to be much stronger than all the geniuses they had ever seen. Each of his steps sufficed to make people's hearts shake violently. Di Ling's steps seemed to be in perfect harmony with cosmic pulsations. That was much more powerful than a human earth fusion, he could borrow strength for those cosmic pulsations. The rumors were true, Di Ling was really the most terrifying cultivator of Shuiyu, he had the firmament blood, he was really impressive. Boom boom boom. Finally, Di Ling also arrived on the fighting stage, he looked at the 6 others in an insufferably arrogant way. Di Ling. They were astonished. They started releasing a monstrous battle energy. None of them could stand being looked at in such an arrogant way. They were outstanding disciples from Shuiyu, they all wanted to appear as the most dazzling person of the competition. They wanted to be admired and revered by everybody. There's someone else, said Di Ling indifferently. Just like the others, he perfectly knew that those people were the only ones who could compete with him, all the others were too weak. Besides, he was considered as the most probable winner for that year's competition, he felt extremely proud and lucky. Duan Wudao isn't here. Di Ling glanced around and saw that Duan Wudao hadn't arrived, then, he looked at Jun Mo Shi and the other people on the side of the group of people from Dragon Mountain. Duan Wudao. When someone saw Di Ling's twinkling eyes, the crowd was stupefied. Those geniuses were incredible, they were like heroes. Their strength was terrifying, they were all exceedingly strong, just like Jun Mo Shi. Nobody could rival with those people. Isn't Duan Wudao going to come? Thought many people suddenly. Duan Wudao hadn't arrived. Maybe that he had an undeserved reputation, after all he was from Shuiyu, how could he be as strong as the other 7? Many people pulled a long face and remained silent when they saw that Di Ling was staring at them. Duan Wudao doesn't dare come, said someone at that moment. It was Di Long. Many people turned their heads and glared at him furiously. If Duan Wudao was here, you wouldn't dare talk shit like that, said Di Ling while looking at Di Long in a despising way. How shameless, such people dared joke about Duan Wudao. When Di Long heard Di Ling, he pulled a long face, he looked hideous. Humph. The people from Shuiyu laughed in a cold way. Di Long looked at them and said, when Duan Wudao arrives, I will compare my strength with his. Alright, go and have a try, said someone at that moment in a cold way. Immediately after, a terrifying and violent chi emerged in the atmosphere. A silhouette was running in the sky. That person didn't look extraordinarily handsome, but at first glance, one could see that that person was extremely brutal and violent. That person was cold, emotionless and violent. Duan Wu Dao. Di Long at that person and was astonished. Duan Wu Dao had arrived. For all the people from Dragon Mountain, Duan Wu Dao was a mystery. He was the prince of Shuiyu, but he was very enigmatic. Boom boom boom. A terrifying chi and force emerged and invaded the atmosphere. All those brutal and violent energies then took the form of a light beam moving towards Di Long at full speed. Duan Wu Dao's ice-cold pupils suddenly terrified Di Long, who immediately started shaking violently. You want to fight? Let's fight. Swift energies descended from the sky. Duan Wu Dao hadn't arrived yet. His clothes were already fluttering in the wind as well as his hair. He looked like rice straws on a field. He was almost about to fall down under those monstrous energies. How terrifying, thought Di Long. He was regretting. He couldn't even move under that chi. Boom boom boom. A terrifying sound spread in the air. Duan Wu Dao immediately punched Di Long. The ground broke apart as Di Long's body was embedded into the ground. Little piece of shit, said Duan Wu Dao coldly. Di Long had the impression that his head was going to explode. Duan Wu Dao had his foot on his head while glancing around at the crowd in an extremely aggressive way. Di Long wanted to fight. Now, his head was under Duan Wu Dao's foot and blood kept gushing. Chapter 594, The Aggressive Woman. When the crowd saw that, they weren't surprised. Duan Wu Dao was extremely aggressive and violent, and what they were seeing confirmed what they had heard. Who had said that Duan Wu Dao couldn't rival with people from the other empires? His strength was already terrifying. Di Long had acted recklessly, but he had already broken through to the 6th Xian layer, and he was much stronger than an ordinary cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer. However, in front of Duan Wuya, he was worth nothing. Duan Wuya, in a flash, could defeat him and put his foot on his head. Duan Wu Dao destroys those who offends him and is good to those polite to him, thought many people. That saying about Duan Wuya was famous abroad. His reputation wasn't unjustified. He was as expected, extremely violent. Lin Feng was in the middle of the crowd and was also looking at Duan Wu Dao. Last time, at the Xiangjiang Lake, Duan Wu Dao had appeared only after Lin Feng had left. This time, it was the first time that he saw Duan Wu Dao, the prince of Shuiyu. He looked impressive. Even though Lin Feng had never seen him before, he had already heard about him many times. He is indeed monstrously strong. He is not weaker than the others, thought Lin Feng. Di Long was considered as an extremely strong cultivator in Dragon Mountain. He was ranked 7th, but in front of Duan Wu Dao, he seemed extremely weak and couldn't even withstand a single attack. Duan Wu Dao could kill such people very easily. Di Long was ridiculous. He had dared despise and humiliate Duan Wu Dao. With what had just happened, Di Long's determination would be severely influenced. The 7 other geniuses were also looking at Duan Wu Dao. How strong? He was definitely strong enough to mingle with them, but in the end, there would be only one real winner. At that moment, the crowd was particularly excited and full of ardor. Those who were going to participate in the great competition of Shuiyu were, indeed, extremely strong. They hadn't traveled to Micheng for nothing, it was definitely going to be worth it. Only real geniuses were going to participate there. Seeing all those extremely strong cultivators made them want to become even stronger on the path of cultivation. Duan Wu Dao, we're meeting once again, said Di Ling at that moment coldly. He looked proud. Once again. The crowd was stupefied, so Duan Wu Dao and Di Ling had already met in the past. No wonder that Di Ling had been asking about Duan Wu Dao, they knew each other, maybe even quite well. Indeed, this time, I will finish first, said Duan Wu Dao, sounding extremely firm and tenacious. In front of everybody, he was saying that he was going to end as the best cultivator of the great competition of Shuiyu. As long as I am alive, you will be finished first, said Di Ling, not submitting himself. If he had come, it was with the sole purpose of finishing first. What about us? Said someone at that moment. It was Xue Sha, and his eyes were bloodshot, he looked evil. The Tian Sha sect was full of terrifying people. They knew some evil skills, for example, they could swallow people's blood and flesh to become stronger. Xue Sha was saying what everybody thought. Did they think that they were only two people competing for the first place? You? Said Di Ling while glancing at Xue Sha before adding, you have a chance to finish in the top 5, yes. Top 5? Xue Sha smiled coldly. Di Ling thought that he would finish in the top 5, how ridiculous. You will see, said Xue Sha while groaning coldly. He then rolled up his sleeves, his silhouette flickered and he disappeared. Xue Sha had immediately left. He had seen everybody and had an idea of how strong they were all extremely strong in any case. At that moment, he just needed to become stronger and break through to the next cultivation layer, then finishing first at the competition wouldn't be a problem. Of course, everybody had the same idea as Xue Sha, the others' silhouettes also immediately flickered and everybody disappeared. When the crowd saw them leave, they dispersed. What do you think? Asked Yun Fei Yang to Lin Feng at that moment while smiling. Those 8 people are extremely strong, I can't compete with any of them, said Lin Feng. He was well aware that his cultivation wasn't enough, those 8 people were monstrously strong. Lin Feng felt like the pressure was huge. Duan Wuya had told him to finish in the top 9. That would be extremely difficult. Don't worry, until the very end of the great competition of Shuiyu, nothing is decided, said Yun Fei Yang while smiling. Lin Feng slowly turned his head and asked, what is that supposed to mean? At the great competition of Shuiyu, there are people from the empires, right? But there are also people from the countries under their jurisdiction, even though they are not as strong as people from the empires, they are still selected, 10 for each. Do you know why? Lin Feng remained silent and shook his head. He didn't understand why, he had always thought that they had ulterior motives. Because the great competition of Shuiyu is not only one big battle, it is divided into stages. During those stages, people who have really high natural abilities have many opportunities to become stronger and stronger. It is possible to break through to the next cultivation layer at any time during the competition. In the past, it has happened that some kept breaking through to higher cultivation layers consecutively, they didn't stop becoming stronger. So between the beginning and the end of the competition, some people end up much stronger than they were initially, said Yun Fei Yang. Lin Feng's heart was pounding, he didn't hear about that and didn't understand anything actually. Don't worry, when the right time comes, you will understand. You are extremely gifted, you will definitely become much stronger, said Yun Fei Yang while smiling. Lin Feng looked at him and said in a deep and meaningful way, you seem to know a lot of things. Yun Fei Yang had suddenly appeared from nowhere and had said that he was from Duanren City. Since the events at the Xiangjiang Lake, he had kept astonishing everybody, including a time before in Dragon Mountain. Yun Fei Yang had easily defeated a cultivator of the 5th Xian Qi layer. Besides, he had become stronger since that time. Lin Feng was particularly surprised to see that Yun Fei Yang knew so many things, including things about the great competition of Shuiyu. Lin Feng, we're in Micheng and it's an ancient city. We should go for a walk, the three of us. All right, said Lin Feng while nodding. Then, the three of them started walking. The air in Micheng was special. Bro, the air in Micheng is filled with the qi of the earth and the sky, it is so dense here, said Xiaoya. Lin Feng and Yun Fei Yang nodded and took a deep breath. It was marvelous. It was probably very fast and efficient to practice cultivation in such a place, more than in Dragon Mountain or Shuiyu at least. Lin Feng took out a gourd, opened it and started drinking. In a flash, his fire energy started flowing at full speed in his body, thus stimulating his pure qi too. Lin Feng's livid face turned slightly red. That alcohol is so strong, said Lin Feng while smiling. He then continued drinking a few slurps. He smiled at Yun Fei Yang and asked, do you want some bottles too? No need, that alcohol is for you, I don't like taking other people's things. Iya. Move away. At that moment, a person was riding a horse in the distance. Lin Feng and Yun Fei Yang turned their head around and saw a cloud of dust around a horse. There was a woman wearing fire-red clothes fluttering in the wind on that horse. She looked valiant and heroic. Get lost! She shouted furiously. Someone didn't move promptly enough, so that girl whipped him when she passed next to him, and they gave a horrible shriek since they're on her whip, which burnt the person's arm. Bro, that girl is so rude, said Xiaoya. She felt upset. That woman was too aggressive. Lin Feng remained speechless. That woman was indeed very rude, but Lin Feng had seen many people like that, so he wasn't surprised anymore. The world was cruel. That woman wasn't weak, she had broken through the Xian Qi layer already. Behind her, there were some cavaliers as well. She probably belonged to some important family. Little bitch. Her fire whip then immediately moved towards Xiaoya. She would be severely injured if it reached her. She had heard Xiaoya when she had said that she was rude. When Lin Feng saw that, he looked at her in an ice-cold way and immediately moved in front of Xiaoya to obstruct her way. Chapter 595, Coming for Revenge, Get Lost, shouted the woman, while glancing at Lin Feng. When she saw that Lin Feng's qi didn't even have the strength of the Xian Qi layer, she looked at him in a mocking manner. Lin Feng stretched his hand, looked at the whip and immediately grabbed it. In a flash, the whip wasn't moving anymore. Lin Feng was firmly holding it. Huh? The girl in the red dress was stupefied and coldly glared at Lin Feng. More flames moved along the whip towards Lin Feng's hand, but at the same time, some pure qi was moving into it as well. She wanted to counterattack. But Lin Feng was still firmly holding the whip. It hadn't moved an inch, and on top of that her fire was disappearing rapidly. Rise, said Lin Feng at that moment. In a flash, his strength penetrated into the whip and moved towards the girl's body. The whip rose up in the air and, as she was holding the other end, she also rose up with it. She was stuck hanging there. Her facial expression drastically changed at that moment. Stop, shouted someone in an ice-cold way. A monstrous physical strength then surrounded Lin Feng's body. Get lost. Lin Feng didn't move, but Yun Fei Yang made a step forwards. His Chang Pao was fluttering and a monstrous qi spread in the air. Rumbling sounds followed, as was then followed by some rumbling sounds. Dust was rising all around. Then the other person's body was projected backwards. Get lost, another person shouted. Lin Feng was still firmly holding and shaking the whip. The girl was shaking too. Lin Feng put more strength into it, which made her fly away. She slid for a while before stopping. When she managed to stand steadily, she looked at Lin Feng in an ice-cold way and said, "You surprisingly dare attack me?" "Piss off," said Lin Feng in an ice-cold way. He wasn't smiling at all this time, he just looked furious. You want to die, said the girl. 3. Lin Feng made a step forwards, the girl looked nervous. 2. Lin Feng made another step while counting, his chi was becoming colder and colder. Miss, let's leave, suggested the other person, while looking at Yunfei Yang. That person couldn't deal with him. The woman in the red dress pulled a long face, took a deep breath, and in a flash ordered her horse to come over. She wanted to continue on her way. What, you want to harm other people, right? Said Lin Feng, when he saw that she wanted to leave. In a flash, he released some qi out of his mouth which moved towards the horse. Boom boom boom. A terrifying qi emerged, the horse neighed as a fire-red light emerged. Lin Feng took another sip of alcohol and the fire ignited on his body. It was scorching hot. He looked like he was going to burn to death, but the horse was actually burning. You. When the woman saw that her beloved horse was burning, she fixedly stared at Lin Feng, she was furious. 1, said Lin Feng, and then threw himself at the woman. Let's go. The silhouette of the woman's guard flickered, he transformed into an illusion and immediately grabbed the girl and took her away. Lin Feng looked at those silhouettes leaving but didn't chase them. Wait and you'll see, said a cold voice in the distance, the woman didn't intend to let Lin Feng off. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes which looked ice cold. Since he had gone through the hardships with the evil swords and had then meditated in the isolated mountains, he had become more optimistic, more generous, and he was less cold than before. He was often smiling and laughing wholeheartedly. But at that precise moment, he looked particularly cold. Lin Feng, it seems like we have to be careful here. This is not like Shuiyu, that guard had broken through to the 4th Xian Qi layer, he is no normal guard, said Yunfei Yang. Lin Feng nodded but they couldn't have done anything anyway, that situation had been unavoidable. Bro, I caused you trouble, didn't I? Asked Xiaoya, she felt guilty. No, don't worry, it has nothing to do with you, said Lin Feng, while caressing her hair. He glanced at her and touched his own hair. Lin Feng smiled at her, he found her so cute and adorable. Then, he took his bottle and continued drinking. Ah! Burp. Lin Feng burped and some flames emerged out of his mouth. His face was turning redder and redder. It was clear that the incident with the woman wasn't over and his pure qi hadn't entirely come back to normal, however, the effect of the potions were starting to dissipate. Hot unit had helped him recover, his pure qi was coming back to normal even faster. At that moment, Lin Feng's pure qi had the strength of the 2nd Xian Qi layer. But he could hide his real strength now. Just as Lin Feng had guessed, that story wasn't over. Soon, a ferocious wild beast started flying in circles in the air above Lin Feng. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at it, the woman in red was riding it, the beast and her kept staring at Lin Feng. When the girl saw Lin Feng, she said in an ice-cold way, there. In a flash, many ferocious wild beasts gathered together and started flying around Lin Feng, encircling him. So many strong cultivators. All above the 4th Xian Qi layer, thought Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang, while glancing at each other's. There were many cultivators of the 6th Xian Qi layer as well in that group of people. Yunfei Yang had told Lin Feng to be careful and he was right. After those beasts and people encircled Lin Feng, a crowd started gathering and looking at them. Those 3 people were very audacious, they had dared to provoke that family, the Deshu clan. In Micheng, there were a few spheres of influence. One of them was the Deshu clan, there were 4 big clans in Micheng. Micheng was just a huge city, not a country, so it didn't have an imperial family. It only had 5 huge spheres of influence, 4 clans, and a governor. Lin Feng and his 2 companions wanted to die, they had offended one of them. You regret now, right? You're terrified, said the girl on her beast, while looking down upon Lin Feng. They were surrounded by extremely strong cultivators so she dared act arrogant again. She was in a bad mood, someone had burned her horse to death and attacked her, how audacious. Regret? Scared, whispered Lin Feng. Why would he regret anything? He had just protected Xiaoya. Should he have let her crush Xiaoya? As far as fear was concerned, Lin Feng had gone through so many hardships that he had become fearless. I do regret indeed. I regret that I didn't slap your face twice, said Lin Feng. The girl was astonished and her facial expression looked colder and colder. That guy was detestable and a bastard, he was still humiliating her, she couldn't stand it. Kneel down in front of me and say that you regret, it is not too late, said the girl coldly. She wanted to see Lin Feng prostrate himself in front of her, she couldn't stand seeing him looking fearless and emotionless. Telling you to piss off was really too respectful, said Lin Feng while smiling coldly. Kill them, said the girl while waving her hand. She was talking to the beast which she was riding. Ee. The beast was flapping its wings and nose diving towards Lin Feng. Its claws were aiming at Lin Feng's head. Stupid animal, said Lin Feng, while trampling onto the ground, then bounced and his fist moved towards the beast and emitted whistling sounds. Boom boom boom. After getting punched by Lin Feng, the animal got flipped upside down and flew backwards. Ee. The third layer Xian beast emitted a sharp sound, it had no strength to fly anymore and immediately fell down. Huh. Those people were stupefied. That person's strength was monstrous. He had surprisingly been able to kill that beast in one punch. Kill him, shouted the girl furiously. In a flash, many wild beasts started nose-diving towards Lin Feng. The entire atmosphere turned dark because they were blotting out the sky. Yun Fei Yang made a step forwards and a monstrously oppressive energy emerged out his body. Leave it to me, said Lin Feng at that moment, which surprised him. Immediately after, his energies disappeared, Lin Feng wanted to fight alone. Lin Feng then started releasing some pure qi, he then raised his head and drank more and more hot unit, in a flash, his pure qi became monstrously powerful. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng was surrounded by a layer of pure qi light. Chapter 596, Long time without deadly energies. Lin Feng hadn't used his fire pure qi for a long time. The alcohol was as strong as before. And the strength of the harukas continued flowing in Lin Feng's fist at full speed. Ee. The ferocious beasts were blotting out the sky. Lin Feng's fist turned black, but the bestial qi of all the beasts kept enveloping his body. Strong cultivators riding those beasts all had spears in their hands and were all moving towards Lin Feng. Their pure qi turned into a long dragon that wanted to swallow Lin Feng. This time they came at Lin Feng with a large-scale attack. How pleasant. Lin Feng was drinking out of his gourd. His face was very red and his entire body smelt like alcohol. His face looked like it was burning. Piss off, all of you, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He began punching into the air, explosions sounded through the air unceasingly. The atmosphere was suffocating. With Lin Feng's strength of the haruka, the pure qi and the bestial qi, the energies kept colliding and making the ground shake. Burn, shouted Lin Feng while spitting out some pure qi which transformed into a fireball. An explosion sounded in the atmosphere as the fireball swallowed one beast and its rider. Boom boom boom. In a flash, the beast and its rider started burning, they were shouting in pain. That rider's friends wanted to extinguish the fire but realized they couldn't. With the sun shining, it seemed like the fire was growing. Lin Feng continued to attack his pursuers with his fire, their screams filled the air. Lin Feng hadn't moved since the first one was set on fire. How terrifying, the crowd thought while staring at Lin Feng. He was terrifying with his fire, he had managed to burn all those beasts and people to death. How strong! They were fooled into believing he was only of the first Xian Qi layer. To them it seemed like anybody could bully him, but in the end, he would strike back with deadly fire. How strong, Yun Fei Yang was also gasping with amazement. That was Lin Feng's strength. No matter if it was his punch or his fire, a cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer could never defeat him. Although his Lin Feng's fire wasn't as strong before, it was a lot more stable. His Cosmos Burning Sun skill required pure sun qi, it was borrowing the strength of the sun. If he managed to master the skill someday, Lin Feng would be able to create real suns for his attacks. They would be able to burn anything. Hence the name of the skill. Now, Lin Feng was already advancing to this level. In the air, the girl and the other strong cultivators she brought were speechless. Lin Feng's qi belonged to the bottom of the Xian Qi layer. Yun Fei Yang seemed much stronger than him, but in one attack, he had destroyed so many people. He was terrifying. Kill him, damn! Shouted the girl even more furiously while pointing at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was extremely aggressive, and he was humiliating her in front of everybody. He really wanted to die seeing how he humiliated the Deshu clan in front of everybody. The girl looked glum. She slightly nodded and waved her hand. The beast started flying in circles above Lin Feng and didn't immediately attack him. Lin Feng didn't seem easy to defeat, so they better be careful. Kill me. Come. What are you all doing? Asked Lin Feng while smiling coldly. He raised his head and looked at her mockingly. You think that you're a woman while treating other people with disrespect, as if they were insects. You are only a tramp. Lin Feng then took out another gourd and continued drinking alcohol. He was only sipping it, but it felt good. Drinking hot unit enabled his pure qi to flow so much so that he could have an explosive power while fighting. Lin Feng realized that it was alleviating the restricting effects of that medicine the old man gave him. It also felt extremely pleasant. That woman wanting to kill him was thrilling. Lin Feng hadn't been so happy to fight in a long time. When the girl heard his insults, she looked sinister while pulling a long face. Don't worry, if you can't kill him just go back, but if you manage to kill him you will receive an award. A D-level skill of medium quality, said the girl. She was going insane. She was a beautiful woman who belonged to the Deshu clan, everybody usually respected her, but Lin Feng was humiliating her, he had to die. When those people heard her, their eyes started twinkling. A D-level skill of medium quality was precious. They would be able to become much stronger with such a skill. Boom! In Lin Feng's back appeared a terrifying qi. A cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer released a beast which immediately started moving towards Lin Feng at the speed of light. However, was a surprise attack useful against Lin Feng? With his awareness, nothing in his surroundings could escape him. He was omniscient when it came to his surroundings. Wind. Then Lin Feng started moving like the wind, and in a flash he moved back. Several explosion sounds spread in the air, that person immediately landed in the ground and a cloud of dust arose. Lin Feng made another step and jumped with the wind. This time however, he moved forwards, and he was raising his fist in which the strength of the Harukas was rotating 5,000 times. That person abruptly turned around and released terrifying pure qi which transformed into a spear and moved straight towards Lin Feng. Die! Shouted Lin Feng in a low voice. He then bombarded the air with his fist, which rotated the strength of the Harukas. It collided with the pure qi sword which immediately broke into pieces. That person's facial expression drastically changed, he was pulling a long face. His monstrous spear had surprisingly broke under Lin Feng's fist. He had seldom seen such a terrifying sort of physical strength. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the man. He created another pure sword and threw it at Lin Feng while moved back. He wanted to leave. Lin Feng slightly inclined his body and dodged the spear, then he moved at the speed of lightning and arrived next to the man. His fist intended to collide with the man's head. The cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer was extremely nervous, he had the feeling that he was going to explode if that fist reached him. But he could do nothing, the fist landed and it made his visceral organs implode. Lin Feng grabbed that person's head with his other hand and crushed his neck. The cultivator of the 6th Xian Qi layer's corpse then collapsed. Lin Feng could easily kill people of the 6th Xian Qi layer. His strength is terrifying. Don't fight in close combat. You have to stay in the air, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng's fist was way too terrifying. What are you still waiting for? I told you to kill him, shouted the girl. Then she looked at Lin Feng, Yunfei Yang and Xiaoye and said, if you cannot kill him, then kill the young girl first and let's see who will protect her. Lin Feng raised his head and released some terrifying deadly energy. At that moment he was filled with murderous determination. What that girl had said infuriated Lin Feng. She lowered her head and saw Lin Feng's pupils becoming particularly cold. She couldn't help but start shaking and feeling afraid. You're a cunt, I'm going to destroy you, said Lin Feng coldly. Immediately after, he rose up to the girl in the air at the speed of lightning. Protect Xiaoye, demanded Lin Feng to Yunfei Yang while rising up like a meteor. Chapter 597, Ice-Cold Dagger. Lin Feng rose up in the air. He still had a few milliseconds to raise his hand and drink some hot unit. His pure qi was becoming more and more violent. The girl looked surprised. The beast she was riding roared and moved away. Stay here, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He drank another mouthful of alcohol and a fireball moved towards the beast. Miss, escape, shouted someone at that moment, crying out in alarm. Fireballs rained down from the sky and the woman could sense the heat which made her heart palpitate. She immediately jumped off the back of the beast. Miss, come here, said someone at that moment. A beast immediately streaked through the sky and appeared under her and was able to catch her. The girl was shaking from head to foot. The beast which she was riding a moment before was burning and roaring violently. How terrifying, thought the woman whose heart was still pounding. She looked at Lin Feng. A moment before, she had almost gotten killed. Nearly. I could have died here. She couldn't believe it. Some people surprisingly dared try to kill a member of the Deshu clan. She had never thought such a thing would happen. She usually wanted to kill other people, but could they kill her? Let's go back and bring back some even stronger cultivators to kill him. We must kill him. The ferocious wild beast kept moving up and up in the sky. They didn't dare let Lin Feng come close to the woman. At that moment, she was terrified. People of the 5th and 6th Xian Qi layer couldn't kill Lin Feng. No problem, they would bring some people not of the 7th Xian Qi layer but of the 8th Xian Qi layer. Would Lin Feng be able to defeat them? Impossible, he would die without a proper tomb. The others, stay here and prevent him from escaping, shouted the young woman furiously. Immediately after, the beast she was riding started flapping its wings and they disappeared in the horizon. The others looked glum. They couldn't escape, they had to block Lin Feng. They had to obey orders. Miserable woman, shouted Lin Feng while looking at the disappearing woman in the horizon. Giving such orders to those people. Maybe someday people would stop listening to her. In the air, there were ferocious wild beasts. The woman had given an order. They had to encircle Lin Feng and prevent him from leaving. Lin Feng looked at those ferocious wild beasts and then at Yunfei Yang. While grabbing Xiaoye's hand, Yunfei Yang, we're off. That woman wasn't an ordinary person. Who knew what kind of person she could bring? Staring there was too dangerous. Lin Feng had to leave. Yunfei Yang nodded and their silhouettes flickered. Where are you going? Shouted someone furiously. They tried to catch up with Lin Feng. Die. That person only saw Lin Feng turn around and move like the wind. Lin Feng's speed was inconceivable. They then collided. Boom boom boom. Huge rumbling sounds spread in the air. The one who had been chasing Lin Feng was completely stunned and just sensed a scorching hot qi invading his arm. He was on fire. At that moment, the crowd could only see Lin Feng's back. If you're not afraid to die, then come over here, challenged Lin Feng to his pursuers in the distance. Those people suddenly felt extremely nervous, they glanced at each other and seemed to think the same, they all flew higher up in the sky. If they had left and abandoned Lin Feng, they would have ignored their orders. Flying higher up was a way not to lose track of Lin Feng while not confronting him, so when that lady came back they would be able to find him. You really want to die? Lin Feng's pupils become even colder. He grabbed Xiaoya's hand and started flying up. Yun Fei Yang understood what Lin Feng wanted, he wanted the three of them to fly together. They were flying at the speed of sound. A short moment after, they all landed in the middle of a palace where many people were gathered. When the pursuers saw them enter the palace in the horizon, they stopped and said, "Block all exits." Their silhouettes then flickered one after the other. They were guarding the exits of that palace. Lin Feng wanted to escape from them but there was no chance. This vast palace was a market where one could use purity stones to buy things. There was an ocean of people in there. At that moment, outside of the palace, people were surprised because they saw beasts flying above them. Those beasts and riders belonged to the Deshu clan. Incredible. They were wondering who could have infuriated the Deshu clan. Whoever they were would surely die in any case. Many people were outside and wanted to watch the spectacle, someone had dared provoke the Deshu clan. One of the biggest spheres of influence of the city. Time was passing slowly and eventually the crowd stopped looking at the city. Suddenly, a massive group of people appeared in the distance, they looked dignified riding their extremely strong, ferocious, wild beasts. On those beasts there were terrifyingly powerful cultivators. Who infuriated the Deshu clan to this extent? They sent a massive amount of strong cultivators to kill him, the crowd was stupefied when they saw those people in brown clothes. They were high-ranking officials. They were all at least the 7th Xianqi layer, for the Deshu clan to dispatch such strong cultivators, someone had really offended them, but who? The crowd was extremely curious. Where is he? Asked the girl to someone. He entered the palace. We already blocked all the exits. He hasn't come out, explained that person. The girl nodded and released some terrifying deadly energies. You blocked the exits, then the others can go in and kill him, said someone at that moment. It was a high-ranking military person who was with the young girl. Those guards had been there and had obstructed all exits, so she was sure that Lin Feng was still inside. For cultivators of the 7th Xianqi layer accompanied by a guard who had already seen Lin Feng before passed through the 4 exits of the place. Everybody in the palace was opening the way for the troops. That place was gigantic. How come Lin Feng and the others didn't know they shouldn't have offended the Deshu clan, especially the daughter? Her father and brother were insane and extremely aggressive, they could kill anyone who offended them. After a short while, the people the woman had brought with her came out looking cold. You said he was inside and that you had blocked the exits? When that person heard the young woman, he was speechless and started shaking. The woman had realized that something was wrong. Indeed. Everybody can tell you that. He went in and never came back, said that person extremely politely, but his forehead was covered with cold sweat. All right. Go in and find him. But if you can't find him, you know what will happen to you, said the woman coldly. That person was terrified but he immediately went into the palace. After a long time, that person came out again looking glum. Lin Feng and the 2 others had vanished without trace. They had looked everywhere in the palace but hadn't found him. Miss. Let's block every single opening, people shouldn't be able to go in or out, said that person while looking at people going in. The girl looked at him and said, do you really think he is in there? Is that even possible? She was releasing deadly energy while talking, she raised her hand and her interlocutor became terrified, shaking violently. On her left and right, there were high-ranking militaries, they were also fixedly staring at that person. What is impossible, said a voice at that moment. That voice sounded familiar, her face immediately changed. But unfortunately, it was already too late, that person had already arrived next to the woman. He was so close, nobody had time to react. Some sharp lights twinkled and a dagger appeared on the woman's neck. It looked extremely cold. The whole scene was astonishing. People looked at him. It was Lin Feng. Who else could it be? Chapter 598, Yun Fei Yang, how's that possible? How's that possible? The crowd repeated, staring at Lin Feng as their hearts were pounding. A moment before, they had looked for him everywhere in the palace and hadn't found him. Then they had come back to the young woman, stayed by her side, and yet nobody had noticed that Lin Feng was there. What a mystery. In just a moment, Lin Feng had pressed that dagger to the lady's throat. The dagger was absolutely lethal. The woman was speechless. That dagger was cold, it made her shiver. It was the first time she was so close to death, and on top of that in Micheng. Territory where her clan had so much power and influence. Let her off, shouted someone furiously, but Lin Feng remained tenacious. He slightly moved his dagger and a thread of blood appeared on her throat. Everyone froze. You can shout even louder if you want, but I can't guarantee that it will not make me press even more, threatened Lin Feng in and coldly. Every member of the Deshu clan stood still, watching the blood run down their lady's neck. Lin Feng had dared do the unthinkable. Are you aware that what you're doing now will have consequences? Asked a strong cultivator profoundly. His voice was so deep and cold that it seemed like it could freeze Lin Feng's heart. Lin Feng glanced at them in a cold and detached way. You should understand that if I wanted to escape, I would have done it earlier. But I chose to stay here. Do you think that I don't know what I'm doing? Asked Lin Feng, which stupefied his interlocutors. Indeed, if Lin Feng had wanted to leave he would have, and nobody would have been the better. Instead, he had taken the initiative to show himself and to threaten their lady. You have come from everywhere to kill me. If I had left you would have continued to look for me everywhere else. Therefore, why shouldn't I take the initiative to attack? Asked Lin Feng with an evil smile. He looked sick, yet fearless, and he was always smiling. Let me be the first to tell you that you can't kill as you wish without expecting backlash. You may have power and influence, but that does not make you an exception. There could always be a day where the same thing happens to you, said Lin Feng while putting his left hand on the woman's back. Ah! A blood-curdling shriek spread in the atmosphere. A terrifying physical strength was spreading in her body and destroying her blood vessels. In a flash, her cultivation was crippled. She became extremely weak and her face turned deathly pale. How dare you, how dare you, those people were furious, enraged. But then Lin Feng's hand moved again and blood appeared on her throat, making them stop in their tracks. They couldn't move even if they were furious. Lin Feng just had to move a little bit and the young woman would die. She didn't look proud or arrogant anymore. At that moment, she was realizing that Lin Feng might actually kill her. Her cultivation had already been crippled. Before, she had never thought that someone would dare attack her in Micheng or even cripple her cultivation. That was inconceivable in her head. But now it was actually happening. That sick-looking young man was too cruel. He had dared to do what no other had. He wanted her to suffer without being able to take her revenge. I'm taking her with me. If anyone follows us I will cut her fingers, threatened Lin Feng coldly. Immediately after, he turned around and left. Those people were astonished, staring at Lin Feng. They wanted to move but they didn't dare. They had the impression that their legs weighed hundreds of kilos. The young woman's cultivation had been crippled and they weren't able to do anything. If Lin Feng cut her fingers, they would also be responsible. Let's go and inform the young master, said someone briefly. Immediately after, their silhouettes flickered and they left at full speed. The crowd was astonished watching them leave. That sick-looking young man was too incredible. Surprisingly, he had dared cripple the cultivation of the young lady of the Deshu clan. Lin Feng realized that nobody was following him and he smiled darkly. A moment after, two silhouettes appeared. Those people were precisely Yun Fei Yang and Xiaoye who had escaped before him. Yun Fei Yang was surprised when he saw that Lin Feng had kidnapped the girl. But then he smiled wryly. That guy was incredible. He could have left in peace, but he had chosen to kidnap the girl. No wonder people don't recognize you with that mask, it looks so real. Even with those facial expressions, it looks authentic, said Yun Fei Yang while giving him back the mask. A moment before, Lin Feng had given him a mask so that they could leave the palace in peace. Staying in the palace wouldn't have been a good idea while waiting for Lin Feng. Since I gave it to you, it's yours, said Lin Feng while smiling. That wasn't much, Yun Fei Yang had already helped him so much, they could become good friends. Besides, Lin Feng would feel more at ease if Yun Fei Yang had it in the future to possibly help take care of Xiaoya. Yun Fei Yang felt moved. Since the beginning, they had slowly become friends. Thank you, said Yun Fei Yang while putting the mask away. He didn't necessarily know where to use that mask though. By the way, what are you going to do with her? Asked Yun Fei Yang while pointing at the young woman. I don't know, said Lin Feng while shaking his head. Maybe I'll keep her on my side like this to scare people away. That would be a burden, wherever you bring her you wouldn't be safe. Yun Fei Yang looked at Lin Feng and smiled. Besides, don't you think that there is a way to help you scare people even more? When the girl heard Yun Fei Yang, she knew what he meant. Lin Feng frowned, he didn't understand. If you don't kill her, people will see you as soft. Explained Yun Fei Yang while jumping in front of the woman. An intangible strength then landed on her body, the woman looked hopeless as her muscles suddenly loosened themselves. She had just died. She thought that she would live for a very long time, especially in Micheng. Boom boom boom. Flames surrounded her body and she burnt to ashes. Yun Fei Yang moved in front of Lin Feng and said, "Your heart is not hard enough." After saying that, Yun Fei Yang immediately turned around and moved in the distance. In order to live in this world, you have to kill. She wanted to kill you, myself, and your little sister. She was just a random young woman to you, but if she had managed to kill you, she wouldn't have a second thought. Your heart has to become an indestructible monolith. Lin Feng looked at Yun Fei Yang and took a deep breath. Yun Fei Yang, thought Lin Feng. He was understanding him more and more. He wasn't scolding Lin Feng, he was reminding him of what kind of person Lin Feng was. Xiaoya, let's go, said Lin Feng while holding Xiaoya's hand, and then their silhouettes flickered. No matter how upset Yun Fei Yang was, he was very good to Lin Feng. He had always helped him and had been there for him so far. Chapter 599, The Rules of the Great Competition of Shuayu. The Deshu clan was one of the biggest clans in Micheng, they controlled one part of the city. At a lakeside just after that force left the palace, an old man with a bamboo hat was leaning against the trunk of a tree, angling for fish. Even though he was fishing, his eyes were closed. He looked carefree and content. If anyone had been there, they would have found out that that old man wasn't releasing any chi. He was in perfect fusion with the earth and the sky. Splash! The old man raised his rod and a fish immediately landed into his bamboo basket. But surprisingly, that rod didn't have a hook, it was perfectly straight. It's not easy to fish with that, spoke another old man. He then opened his eyes and smiled. He slowly turned around and saw the other old man looking extremely upset. The one with the bamboo hat asked him, "Mr. N, what's wrong?" Mr. N was shaking with anger. The old man frowned, he had known Mr. N for decades, so it was simple to claim that he knew him completely. Even in terrible circumstances, Mr. N never lost his temper like this. "Mr. N, what happened?" repeated the old man. Mr. N lowered his head, he was shaking when he said, She was kidnapped. Her soul pearl was broken, boom boom boom. A terrifying chi suddenly invaded the atmosphere. The tree behind the old man suddenly broke into pieces and then turned into powder. The water of the lake started boiling and a strong wind started blowing, carrying along drops of water from the lake. Her soul pearl was broken. That was the same as being dead. Mr. N was lowering his head more and more, as if it was going to fall down onto the ground. The chi pressure of a cultivator of the Tian Chi layer was terrifying. Even he who had broken through to the 8th Xian Chi layer felt like he was suffocating. That terrible pressure lasted for a while but then gradually started becoming weaker and weaker again. However, the old man's face was still filled with murder. Who did it? It is said that she was riding her horse and then someone attacked her. So she came back to find some high-ranking officials to help her. However, he still managed to cripple her cultivation, said Mr. N in a serious and solemn way. The old man's eyes were twinkling with ice-cold lights as he said, "Send Tian Chi to capture him, don't kill him though." "Roger," said Mr. N as solemnly as before. He then immediately started walking backwards. Only after being far enough from the old man, he dared turn around. The old man's eyes were filled with murder. Surprisingly, someone had dared attack the precious daughter of the Deshu clan. That young woman would never have believed such a thing would happen, no member of the clan could have believed such a thing. They had never thought such a thing was possible. Lin Feng obviously didn't know what was happening at the Deshu clan. In fact, he didn't even know what a soul pearl was. Otherwise, Yunfei Yang probably wouldn't have killed her. Yunfei Yang and Lin Feng hadn't thought that if the girl died, the soul pearl would immediately break and all the members of the Deshu clan would know about it. They would definitely come and slaughter them now. But the Deshu clan still needed to find Lin Feng. Actually, Jian Chen just now ran into Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang. He jumped towards them, smiled and said, "Lin Feng, Yunfei Yang, I finally found you." Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang were surprised when they heard him. Why was he looking for them? Jian Chen didn't know that Lin Feng was the real Lin Feng, so he wasn't supposed to know anything about him. "What do you want from us?" asked Yunfei Yang. "People from Dragon Mountain have come to discuss the great competition of Shuiyu, so you must attend the meeting too," said Jian Chen. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang nodded, since it dealt with the competition they would to attend. Jian Chen brought Lin Feng and the two others to a vast space. Everybody from Dragon Mountain was there. Some other geniuses were as well. "We found Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang but we didn't find Duan Wu Dao," said Jian Chen. Lin Feng, Yunfei Yang and Xiaoye found a free spot to sit down. Jian Chen, explain the rules of the great competition of Shuiyu to everybody. "They need to see things more clearly," said Jun Mo Shi to Jian Chen. Jian Chen nodded and looked at everybody. "Lin Feng, Yunfei Yang, a moment ago, we already explained the rules to everybody but maybe you don't know them yourselves. The great competition of Shuiyu implies a few things which you really need to understand. Geniuses from the 13 countries of Shuiyu can participate at the competition, which means your opponents are from 4 different empires and the 9 countries under their jurisdiction. But on a more personal scale, the competition is a wonderful experience for each individual. During each round, there will be wonderful opportunities. If the geniuses greatly benefit from it, their respective countries will also benefit from those great things, there is no doubt about that." Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling. That wasn't the first time that he heard of the personal benefits, so now he believed it. The great competition of Shuiyu would have many wonderful things to offer. Concerning the rules of the great competition of Shuiyu, there are 3 rounds. The first round will allow us all to fight as we wish. Nobody knows how the round ends, and nobody knows the rules of the first round either. But we have understood from previous competitions that only after a myriad of people have died, the round can end. The only thing you have to do is kill, kill, kill. At the same time, you have to protect yourself and not die. Lin Feng was astonished. What a cruel rule. The first round was a free-for-all fight. Everybody had to kill in order not to be killed, and only then would they move on to the second round. We hope that during the first round our people can work together and won't kill each other. Instead, it would be better for you to kill others from different countries. That way, we will have more chances to move on to the next round. In the same way, people from the other empires might work together to kill you, explained Jian Chen. everybody was calmly listening to him. All in all, individuals themselves were not what mattered the most, the empire was the most important thing. The second round of the great competition of Shuiyu is about getting ranked. 10 years ago, everybody was brought to a cave and the first to enter the cave were ranked first, those who entered after the others were eliminated. Because they don't want the strongest cultivators to fight first, the battles became imbalanced. Those ranked first fight against the weaker opponents and vice versa, those who are weak fight against stronger opponents. Of course, if you want to be amongst the top cultivators of the competition, you will have to fight against most of everyone. Lin Feng understood all those rules. Those who weren't successful or unlucky might face extremely strong cultivators early on. In order to avoid fighting the strongest ones until the end, you had to win early on. And then, in the end, you might finish as a hero. Lin Feng, Yunfei Yang, you probably understand the rules now? Asked Jian Chen. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang nodded. Jian Chen had explained everything very clearly. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang weren't stupid. Since you understood the rules, I wish all of you success. You have to remember that every battle will be dangerous. Apart from the many dangers and perils, there will also be a myriad of chances and opportunities. You will have the chance to improve all along the evolution of the competition. You will understand what I am saying better during the competition, added Jun Mo Shi. Apart from being a participant, Jun Mo Shi was also a member of the imperial family of the Dragon Mountain Empire. He, of course, wanted his empire to win. He hoped that they would finish first. Chapter 600, Delation. Does anyone still have questions? Asked Jun Mo Shi. Everybody remained silent except for a middle-aged man on the side of Tian Feng. He said, I have a suggestion. Everybody looked at him. It was the patriarch of the Wanxiang sect and he was looking at Jun Mo Shi. Your Highness, since the first round is a free-for-all death battle, the number of people who are going to die will be determined in advance, right? If that specific number of people die, then we will proceed to the second round. Some of our people will inevitably die. Why shouldn't we choose some of them that we could sacrifice? When the crowd heard him, they were astonished. Choose some people to sacrifice. He was extremely cruel. You think that anyone is willing to die for the rest? Said Jun Mo Shi. One could understand, from his tone of speech, that he found that idea extremely stupid. Who would be willing to sacrifice themselves? Those people had come from Dragon Mountain to become dazzling cultivators. If Jun Mo Shi sent them to their deaths, wouldn't that make him a bad person? Why would you give them the choice? Some people are always acting recklessly even though they are weak, those people should surely die. Anyways, there will be 2 more rounds after the first one, so they will become useless sooner or later. We should give the authentically strong cultivators more chances to evolve, they should be favored, explained the man. He was talking slowly as he continued, therefore, I suggest that, amongst those 36 people we choose 20 people that we want to keep or agree on another number, and eliminate the rest. Then, when our geniuses come across some of our weaker cultivators, we just destroy them like the rest. Then, we'll be sure that our strongest cultivators will make it to the next round. Otherwise, those weaker cultivators will just hide between the strongest cultivators each time they run into a stronger cultivator during the first round. They would continue to be useless like that during the following rounds. It would be better to get rid of them as soon as possible. The patriarch of the Wanxiang sect was referring to those whose cultivation level was low, for example Lin Feng. Those at whom he was referring to were all pulling a long face. That person was suggesting to abandon and kill them. Why the hell would you abandon us? Why wouldn't we kill all of the Tian Feng people instead? Said someone coldly. Who would feel at ease if someone suggested they should die? If you refuse, let's fight against them and then we'll see who wins, added that man proudly. I heard that some people from Tian Feng went to Shuiyu and never came back, that they were all killed by the prince. Those people had gone there proudly and arrogantly but had ended up dead. How ridiculous, said Lin Feng indifferently while raising his head. He had a devilish smile on his face as if he was pouring salt on an open wound. How audacious, you little piece of shit. Who authorized you to talk? Said that middle-aged man coldly to Lin Feng. I'm done talking actually. After what happened last time in Shuiyu, you came here and brought a massive amount of strong cultivators along with you. In the end, you are still scared that Tian Feng's cultivators might still be too weak and get killed again, right? Said Lin Feng, sounding neither presumptuous nor humble, he was just calm. However, those from Tian Feng were all fixedly staring at him. That person should die in the first round. If you see him, kill him without mercy, said the imperial tutor indifferently, as if he had no emotion. Indeed, kill him during the first round immediately if you see him, added the patriarch of the Wanxiang sect while nodding. Lin Feng had to die. The 7 envoys from Tian Feng nodded. That man despised Tian Feng, he had to die. Lin Feng ignored what the others said, he still had a magnificent smile on his face. He already hated people from Tian Feng, if he had the occasion, he would kill all of them. That's enough, said Jun Mo Shi. I made you come here to tell you not to fight against each other and to support each other. That's all. No need to talk about that stupid suggestion anymore, because even if you are very strong, you might not necessarily live longer than the others. I'm done talking, everybody can disperse now, said Jun Mo Shi while waving, he was obviously upset. Let's go, said the people from Tian Feng while standing up, they were all moving quite slowly. However, a terribly oppressive force suddenly invaded the atmosphere. All around them, there were ferocious, wild beasts. And on their backs there were monstrously strong cultivators looking down upon them, they were looking for someone. Huh? The crowd was surprised. There were ferocious, wild beasts everywhere. And the cultivators on their backs were monstrously strong as well. What had happened in all of a sudden? The wind was blowing violently. A few ferocious, wild beasts arrived next to the crowd. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang glanced at each other, what was happening? Those people surely had to do with the woman they had killed. But how come they had so many strong cultivators? Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang lowered their heads, remaining silent and immobile. Have you seen these people? Asked the silhouettes in the sky. Suddenly, 3 portraits appeared in the sky, there were 2 young men and a young girl. Even though the portraits weren't great, the crowd could still recognize them. Those were the ones who had arrived at the end of the meeting, Yunfei Yang, Lin Feng, and that little girl. I've never seen those people, said Tang Yu while shaking her head. She wasn't happy to see those people come and make demands of them, she didn't feel like telling them anything. Oh, said that person while nodding, and then his ferocious wild beast rose back up in the air. Wait. Said someone at that moment laughing coldly. What? Said the one on the beast, turning his head around. He saw a middle-aged man on the ground. The middle-aged man smiled, nodded, and said, I've seen those 3 people. In a flash, the crowd frowned. Of course they had all seen those 3 people, they were with them. They were still in the middle of the crowd. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang were suddenly very anxious, ice-cold lights were twinkling in their eyes. It seemed like the patriarch of the Wanxiang sect was a delator. Come out yourself or I will make you come out, threatened the patriarch of the Wanxiang sect indifferently. In a flash, the people of the Deshu sect were surprised and glanced at the crowd under their feet. Come out. It meant that those 3 people were there, in the middle of that crowd. You're a great guy, said Lin Feng. Immediately after, Yunfei Yang and Lin Feng raised their head. Since they couldn't hide, they had to face these people. When they saw Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang, heartbeats accelerated. Whistling sounds started spreading in the atmosphere and the ferocious, wild beasts started moving around chaotically. When the group off to the horizon saw the scene, they also moved towards them. It seems like Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang have offended some very important people, thought the crowd. Such a sphere of influence couldn't be unimportant, surprisingly they had been looking for them all around. A monstrous force emerged in the air. Lin Feng just looked at the people of the Deshu clan and said, "So you don't care about the safety of that girl?" Lin Feng was trying to dissuade them. When they heard Lin Feng, they smiled coldly and said, "You dared kill Miss Deshu of the Deshu clan, you will regret it your entire life," said someone. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang were caught off guard. They knew that she was dead. The Deshu clan. June Mo. She was stunned. Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang had offended the Deshu clan and had dared kill Miss Deshu. Lin Feng had thought that he could hide the truth from their people. Unfortunately, Lin Feng didn't know that cultivators of the Tian Qi layer could make people's souls transform into soul pearls. And the soul and the pearl were then linked. If the pearl broke, then it meant that the person was dead. All the cultivators of the Tian Qi layer make the soul's pearls of the most important people in their clans. That way they could track everybody. The Deshu clan had some cultivators of the Tian Qi layer and they had found out that Miss Deshu had been killed by Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang. Offending the Deshu clan was in the top 10 list of things not to do in Micheng. Besides, they weren't immediately attacking. They were encircling Lin Feng first and would probably wait for the strongest cultivators of the clan to come and handle them as they wished. Chapter 601, Happily Fighting Together. Those from Tian Feng who were about to leave a moment before stopped, they were gloating over Lin Feng and his friend's misfortune. They wanted to see them get crushed. "You perfectly knew that they were here and you lied to us. Prepare to suffer from our flames of fury," shouted one of them to Tang Yu furiously. The Deshu clan was one of the 4 spheres of influence of Micheng. They were obviously extremely aggressive. Lin Feng glanced at Tang Yu in a strange way. A moment before, she had protected him and now she was in trouble with him. Tang Yu nodded at him. Lin Feng immediately understood what she meant. He then glanced at Yunfei Yang. Those people were only vanguards, they had just been looking for Lin Feng so they could encircle him. Then they would signal for their stronger cultivators. If Lin Feng waited for those strong cultivators to arrive, he would be in trouble. Strength. Always strength, thought Lin Feng. He was hoping that the effect of the potions he had drunk would quickly fade. He wanted to have his pure qi back. The situation would be a lot better if he had all of his pure qi at that moment. Lin Feng's sleeve shook and his gourd appeared. He then raised his head and downed a gourd of hot unit. Glu glu glu. Hot unit kept flowing into his stomach. Lin Feng had downed it one gulp. His face instantly turned red. The crowd was surprised. That guy was drinking hot unit as if he had been drinking tonic. He then threw the gourd away in his storage and started burping. That alcohol was delicious. Immediately after, he raised his head and looked at those who were circling above him. "I killed that girl because she wanted to kill me, now you want to kill me so I won't be merciful." In a flash, he opened his mouth widely and abruptly started spitting out some fireballs which dashed to the skies. Boom boom boom. Terrifying fireballs started invading the atmosphere. Those people in the sky were caught off guard. The ferocious wild beast silhouettes kept fluttering, but those fireballs were extremely fast and not easy to dodge. Some beasts were bound to be hit. Roarer, a fireball reached one of the beasts which roared violently. In a flash, its entire body was surrounded by flames. The strong cultivator on the beast then jumped in the air and stood there. The beast was roaring furiously as it was burnt to death. What a terrifying fire, thought that person while staring at his beast turning into ashes. He was shaking. If he had been too slow, he would have died as well. That fire was extraordinary. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then jumped off the ground and made the strength of the Harukas rotate 500 times in his fist. He then immediately threw himself at another person with his fist leading. That person groaned loudly and jumped off the beast he was riding. He was about to welcome Lin Feng with his spear. Kacha! The spear broke into pieces, without resistance, when it collided with the strength of the Harukas. Lin Feng's fist didn't stop moving forwards, a loud crashing sound spread in the air. When Lin Feng's fist crashed onto that person's body, he immediately died. While Lin Feng and Yun Fei Yang were fighting, he was condensing some pure qi and flying through the air. He was going very slowly, but it seemed like he was borrowing the strength of the earth and the sky for each step he made. His steps definitely contained a monstrous force. Apart from them, Tang Yuyu was also fighting. She was moving swiftly through the air, just like a butterfly. Her fist was dancing in the sky. She looked neither slow nor fast, just agile. One of the victims she punched had their blood vessels visibly destroyed. He immediately died. The members of the Deshu clan hadn't thought that Lin Feng would attack first. Besides, Lin Feng and his two friends were all extremely strong, especially that beautiful woman. She was moving like a butterfly in the sky, but now at full speed. She had a monumental physical strength in her fist that was probably some insane skill. In any case, each time she punched someone, they died. It was apocalyptic in the sky at that moment. It was a massacre. People on the ground were all astonished. The great competition of Shuiyu hadn't started yet and they were already fighting against monstrously strong cultivators. Jun Mo, she wasn't happy at all, but he was happy to see those evil people get crushed. It would have been horrible for them to lose Lin Feng and the two others. Tang Yuyu, you are the strongest between us. We must kill all these people, otherwise, when the strong cultivators arrive to support them we will be in serious trouble, explained Yun Fei Yang to Tang Yuyu. Tang Yuyu obviously knew that. She then shouted furiously, 1,000 dream clones. In a flash, Tang Yuyu's clones appeared in the atmosphere and blotted out the sky. She was everywhere, just like in a dream. 1,000 clones. Just like in a dream. Boom boom boom. Her clones kept punching everybody and horrible shrieks kept spreading everywhere in the air. The crowd on the ground could see cadavers unceasingly falling from the sky. It was a rain of corpses. They were astonished that Tang Yuyu's 1,000 dream clones skill was so incredible. It was one of the best skills of the Tang clan. The clones all looked perfectly real, and the bodies were in fact real. They weren't shadows or anything of that sort, they were real clones. How strong, thought Lin Feng. Tang Yuyu was the third strongest cultivator of Dragon Mountain. When she was furious, a field could become littered with millions of corpses. Let alone the people she was killing now were extremely strong. Be careful, said Yun Fei Yang to Lin Feng. Several whistling sounds were approaching Lin Feng, but he didn't panic. He only turned around and bombarded the atmosphere with his fist. He wasn't scared of fighting against those ferocious wild beasts with his strength of the Harukas. Boom boom boom. A terrifying physical strength then attacked Lin Feng and crashed onto his body. Surprisingly, that attack made his pure qi flow even faster through his meridians. Lin Feng didn't find the attack painful, on the contrary, that pain was extremely pleasant. Do it again, said Lin Feng with a proud smile on his face. He then moved forwards with the wind, his fist bombarded the atmosphere once again. A ferocious, wild beast then roared violently. It was severely injured by Lin Feng's punch. Die. The person on the beast then used his spear to attack Lin Feng, which moved at full speed towards him. It contained some monstrously strong energies. Lin Feng didn't dare resist this one with his bare fist. He inclined himself aside to dodge it, but his top got lacerated and his chest was suddenly exposed. However, Lin Feng caught the spear while it was flying through the sky and firmly held onto it. He then looked at the one who had sent it and spat out another fireball. A terrifying and scorching hot fireball then immediately ignited the enemy's body. Ah! That fire was terrifying. His entire body was burning. He was releasing pure qi to make the fire shrug off, but it didn't work, the pure qi was getting burnt too. Quickly, his horrible shrieks became less and less as he burnt to death, turning into ashes. I wouldn't have thought that Lin Feng had such mysterious skills. He can drink hot unit and then spit out monstrous fireballs, thought some people on the ground while watching the fight. With those fireballs, Lin Feng was a danger to them as well. Most of them wouldn't be able to stop those fireballs. In the distance, whistling sounds were spreading. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes in which cold lights were twinkling. Lin Feng took out another gourd filled with hot unit and downed it in a flash. He initially had 100 hot unit bottles, but a gourd could contain more than a bottle. Having one gourd left meant that he only had maybe a dozen bottles left. What a greedy boy. I still have some, drink as much as you want, said Tang Yuyu while looking at Lin Feng drinking all that hot unit. It seemed like Lin Feng loved drinking that liquor. Tang Yuyu threw her ring at Lin Feng, he caught it and looked inside. There were, as expected, many bottles of alcohol. It was filled with alcohol actually. Tang Yuyu seemingly didn't leave her residence without alcohol. She had too much on her. I only drink hot unit, explained Lin Feng while laughing. He grabbed all the bottles of hot unit and put them in his own ring. He then returned the ring back to Tang Yuyu. We should leave now, said Lin Feng while throwing away the gourd he had just downed. He then moved back down to where the ground fell, grabbed Xiaoya, and flew away. Tang Yuyu and Yunfei Yang nodded in agreement and followed him. Chapter 602, Terrifying Fire. The members of the Deshu clan were not resigned to let Lin Feng and his friends escape. Their ferocious, wild beasts were in hot pursuit. You killed my people and think you will be able to escape, shouted someone furiously. That person's voice rolled in the atmosphere, hurting their eardrums. Lin Feng and the three others landed on the ground knowing that their pursuers had caught up with them. A cloud of dust arose around them as they landed. Lin Feng shouted, Tang Yuyu, kill that cultivator of the 7th Xianqi layer first and then we will kill the others together. All right, said Tang Yuyu nodding. The four of them were ready. Lin Feng took a gourd of hot unit and downed it to the last drop. His pure qi seemed like it was boiling, it was flowing in his veins at full speed. While drinking and fighting, Lin Feng's pure qi was gradually coming back to normal. The hot unit was progressively making the effects of the potions vanish. Die, shouted Tang Yuyu when she saw someone riding a beast attack her by surprise. She transformed into an illusion and attacked that person with her fist. It seemed like a multitude of fists had appeared in the atmosphere. That cultivator of the 7th Xianqi layer was astonished, his pure qi started whistling in the air, but would it suffice against Tang Yuyu's fist? Of course not, his pure qi was immediately destroyed and then vanished. Tang Yuyu's fist crashed onto that person's chest, making him shake from head to foot. His blood vessels exploded, he groaned as he died with his eyes wide open. One attack. The beautiful Tang Yuyu only needed one punch to kill a man of the 7th Xianqi layer, even though she was several years younger than him. She was fast as lightning, her punches deadly. With her incredible abilities she only needed one punch. Lin Feng admired Tang Yuyu and felt safe with her. He made another step and moved like the wind, he raised his fist around which appeared a terrifying fire. This time, he wasn't using his strength of the Harukas, he was using his scorching hot pure qi sun fire. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. His pure qi sun fire also contained some killer energy. 3rd Xianqi layer and you think you can fight against me with pure qi, said the opponent when he sensed Lin Feng's pure qi sun fire. That person also raised his fist towards Lin Feng. Their fists were about to collide. Very subtly, Lin Feng's fist changed course from his fist towards the man's chest. Huh, that person was surprised. Lin Feng didn't mind receiving his punch just so he could punch him too. The man with the 6th Xianqi layer was convinced that he wouldn't get hurt if Lin Feng punched him. He was willing to take Lin Feng's challenge. There was no suspense about to it. Boom. Boom boom. Two muffled sounds spreads in the air consecutively. The enemy's fist landed on Lin Feng's body, but Lin Feng hadn't died. He was, however, shaking violently. But immediately, a monstrous flame ignited on Lin Feng's body. It didn't seem like the opponent's fist was attacking Lin Feng, it seemed like his fist was drowning in fire. Boom! A terrifying fire followed Lin Feng's arm and suddenly crashed onto that person's body. He sensed a monstrous pain spread all over. He lowered his head and saw a hole in his chest where a fire had just started. Very quickly, his entire body was covered with flames. Ah! A blood-curdling shriek spread in the air and that person died. Lin Feng was standing there surrounded by flames. He was becoming stronger and stronger. His entire body was diffusing some fire-red lights, he looked like a fire deity. His pure qi is back to normal, thought Yun Fei Yang, who was behind Lin Feng. A moment before, Lin Feng had gambled actually. He had bet that his pure qi would get back the strength of the fourth Xian qi layer during the attack, and it had worked. And yet, it seemed like it was still increasing. Lin Feng moved and in a flash many bottles of hot unit appeared, they were those that Tang Yuyu had just given to him. Kacha kacha. In a flash, all of them broke and a waterfall of hot unit liquor appeared in the air. Lin Feng opened his mouth and started inhaling with his mouth in an insane way. He was sucking in all the alcohol present in the air, he wasn't wasting a single drop of it. His mouth looked like an endless black hole. Boom boom boom. When the alcohol landed in his stomach, his blood and pure qi felt like they were burning. Everything was boiling in his body. Stop him, kill him, shouted one of the people of the Deshu clan when he saw that Lin Feng's terrifying fire continued growing stronger and stronger. Come, said Lin Feng while taking a deep breath. Flames kept flickering all over his body. Kill him, kill him, kill him. All of those people were shouting while throwing themselves at Lin Feng. But at that moment, a monstrous energy spread in the air. All those flames turned into a monstrous fire dragon which started moving towards all those people riding their ferocious, wild beasts. Whether it be human beings or ferocious, wild beasts, they would all burn under that fire if it reached them. They couldn't extinguish that fire, they were immediately turned into ashes. How pleasant! Lin Feng's eyes were filled with sharp lights. His entire body was surrounded by a terrifying fire. The sun was shining upon his body and the sunlight was in fusion with him. Lin Feng's qi was becoming stronger and it felt extremely pleasant. He had the feeling that his cultivation had been sealed for a while, as if he had been handicapped. At that moment he had entirely recovered, he felt alive again. The sun was shining upon his body, warm and comforting. The light he was diffusing were dazzling. Kacha! A sound spread in the atmosphere as if something had broken. Lin Feng was smiling resplendently. Initially, he couldn't break through to the next Xian Qi layer because his pure Qi had been constricted by the effects of the potions he had drunk. Now, his pure Qi had been stimulated a lot, breaking through to the next cultivation layer was absolutely normal. Lin Feng could feel that this time he had broken through to the next cultivation differently than previous times. He had almost died recently and his pure Qi had been restrained in the mountains. He had then meditated and understood a lot of things. And now he had understood that his fire had changed too. In the past, he couldn't use his fire to defeat cultivators of the 5th Xian Qi layer, or at least, it wasn't easy. But now he could kill them with ease using his fire. His cosmos burning sun skill had changed. His pure Qi sun fire had changed too. Lin Feng was overjoyed because his pure Qi had finally entirely recovered. It was such a wonderful thing. Behind him, there was Tang Yuyu, she looked astonished. It's him, she said. Tang Yuyu had finally understood that this Lin Feng was the Lin Feng she had met originally. Chapter 603, One Sword Killer Attack. When Tang Yuyu saw Lin Feng's incredible fire, she knew that it was Lin Feng's skill because it could attract sunlight. That skill was probably a Tian level skill. It seems like I'm not the only one who underestimated him. His country did the same while he was rising, thought Tang Yuyu. All the members of the Deshu clan were fixedly staring at Lin Feng. How come he was becoming stronger and stronger? Let's go, said Lin Feng loudly. Even though fire was still burning around his body, he didn't want to keep fighting. He moved back to Xiaoya and grabbed her. Tang Yuyu and Yunfei Yang were a bit surprised but understood why Lin Feng wanted to leave things that way. Even though they were strong, staying there would still be too dangerous. The opponents were only of the 6th and 7th Xian Qi layer, but there were stronger ones to come. Besides, Tang Yuyu had heard a lot about the Deshu clan of Micheng. She knew that they had some cultivators of the Tian Qi layer. The cultivators they had just defeated were only the tip of the iceberg. Those people were just vanguards sent to find them, the really strong ones were sure to follow. Lin Feng used his pure qi to rise up in the air. He was surrounded by the light of his pure qi. Lin Feng was moving very fast even though he was carrying Xiaoya. Those ferocious, wild beasts couldn't catch up to him that easily. Tang Yuyu was just as fast, actually faster than Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang, but she didn't want to leave without waiting for them, so she kept their pace. Even while escaping they weren't too worried, they appeared to be moving gracefully. The people of the Deshu clan moved back to gather with the other strong cultivators. They didn't feel like separating their group. Those from Dragon Mountain had been extremely far from the battle. They caught up to see fireballs and hear several horrible shrieks ensue. After that, the people from the Deshu clan moved back. They were probably informing the stronger cultivators of their clan of what had just happened. Jun Mo she frowned. Lin Feng had killed Miss Deshu, he hadn't anticipated that. Besides, now those people were leaving to inform their superiors. Lin Feng was going to be in a great deal of danger. Maybe I should help them, thought Jun Mo she. He thought about it some more and then he began running. His body turned into an arrow which streaked through the sky. He looked like a beam of light. 3 cultivators of the Deshu clan looked relieved, they were also riding ferocious, wild beasts. They were about to fly back to their companions when a beam of light appeared in front of them along with terrifying deadly energy. Stay here, said Jun Mo she indifferently. He punched towards that person and his fist crashed onto his chest. The opponent shook violently from head to foot, his internal organs and bones had all broken into pieces. Boom! Jun Mo she then used that person as a step and jumped on the beast's back, which roared violently. He then continued moving forwards at full speed. How audacious, thought the other two when they saw that someone else was attacking them. Their facial expressions looked ice-cold and were filled with murder. You two stay here as well, said Jun Mo she, again indifferently. He raised both his hands and released a monstrous pure qi in a flash. A terrifying qi of earth and sky suddenly mixed with his pure qi and attacked the 2 beasts they were riding. Their entire bodies were ripped apart and their wings cut off. Aircut kill. People from Dragon Mountain were all astonished. That aircut kill was monstrously powerful. Slash. As expected, those 2 aircut kill attacks immediately lacerated the air. It seemed like the atmosphere had separated the sky from the ground. Those 2 beasts had no chance to survive. How strong, thought everybody shivering. Jun Mo she was the best cultivator of Dragon Mountain. Of course he was extremely strong. According to the rumors, Jun Mo she had never used his spirit during battles. He didn't need to use it because he was too strong. Nobody knew what his spirit was. Jun Mo she killed those 3 and then gazed into the distance. He began flying again towards Lin Feng and the others. Those from Dragon Mountain started moving as well, their silhouettes were flickering one after the other. There was now a crowd following the action, all of them were wondering what was going to happen this time. Maybe one of the participants of the competition would die before it even began. If someone was watching from overhead, they would see a large line from Lin Feng back to the Dragon Mountain people. There was a succession of cultivators running one after the other. The wind was picking up with all the cultivators' influence. The distance Lin Feng and company and ran was vast, but then. You can't escape. Behind Lin Feng, some people from the Deshu clan were shouting they hadn't been chasing them at full speed because Lin Feng and his friends' pure qi couldn't be infinite. Eventually they could wear them down. They didn't have to hurry, they just had to keep an eye on them, that was enough. It had been a long time since someone had dared infuriate the Deshu clan in Micheng. But this time, they surprisingly had killed Miss Deshu. They really wanted to die. Who said we were escaping, said Lin Feng while releasing his terrifying fire again. With the wind, his fire became even more intense and dazzling. The sunlight was shining upon his body, it was incredible. Srrr. Srrr. Everybody stopped flying in the sky. It seemed like Tang Yuyu, Lin Feng and Yunfei Yang's hearts were all interconnected, they stopped at exactly the same time. They also turned around at the same time and confronted those who had been running after them. Tang Yuyu, Yunfei Yang, we don't have time, so don't blame for being rude. Tang Yuyu, take him. Yunfei Yang, help me protect Xiaoya, said Lin Feng, surrounded by flames. Tang Yuyu was going to fight against their leader, that's what Lin Feng was asking. He was monstrously strong, he had broken through to the 8th Xian Qi layer. Lin Feng couldn't defeat him, however, Tang Yuyu had also broken through to the 8th Xian Qi layer. The others were composed of one cultivator of the 7th Xian Qi layer and a bunch of cultivators of the 5th and 6th Xian Qi layers. No problem, said Yunfei Yang. Tang Yuyu made a step forwards, releasing some terrifying battle energy. The cultivator of the 8th Xian Qi layer groaned coldly as he moved to challenge her. He was going to fight against Tang Yuyu. You've been running after us for a while, it's now time to end this all, said Lin Feng coldly. He moved and a roaring sound spread through air, it was his purple spirit. It then turned into a boundless lake and blotted out the sky, swallowing everybody. 9 Palace Dragon Formation, shouted Lin Feng furiously. In a flash, the purple light invaded the whole region and the illusion imprisoned the beasts and the cultivators on their backs. They were all in different rooms. Let's crush it together, said someone in the illusion. A terrifying qi emerged in the illusion. Lin Feng couldn't imprison so many strong cultivators in his illusion. Sword, shouted Lin Feng. A fire sword appeared in his hand, the flames coming off it were just as resplendent as Lin Feng's. Boom boom boom. A terrifying qi invaded the entire atmosphere. Those who had just been imprisoned in the illusion rose up in the air. Die. When they came out of the illusion they saw Lin Feng waiting for them. Their hearts started pounding. Lin Feng's sword was so dazzling that they couldn't open their eyes. It was a mixture of a deadly sword and a great radiant sword. It was also filled with sword determination. When he raised the sword they all died. Those who had been too fast and had thrown themselves at Lin Feng were first. They couldn't stop such a terrifying sword. Chapter 604, Willing to Fight. Sword determination, fire determination. They all became much stronger. I wonder what level they are now, thought Lin Feng when he realized his determination was so powerful. With one sword attack filled with fire and deadly energy, he had been able to kill all those people, including a cultivator of the 7th Xian Qi layer. Back. Lin Feng moved his hand and recalled his purple spirit back into his body. Then the formation disappeared and the few people of Deshu clan reappeared. You want me to die, so I return the favor. Lin Feng made a step forward and raised his sword towards the sky. The sunshine shone upon it and his body. All around him people could sense that the temperature had increased. Oh no, some people's facial expressions drastically changed. That sword also contained deadly energy. Lacerate. Lin Feng jumped into the middle of their group, the sun was reflecting red off of his sword. Die, someone attacked Lin Feng from behind, his speed was incredible. Lin Feng immediately felt oppressed. Although he was surprised, he made the strength of the Harukas rotate 5,000 times in his back. Then a muffled sound spread in the air. That person's hand crashed onto Lin Feng's back, but Lin Feng was still standing steadily. A black physical strength was flowing in his back. He turned around to see the person attacking him had eyes filled with murder. His heart continued pounding. Die! Lin Feng imbued fire chu into his left fist and punched that person's chest. That person's chest quickly burnt and a black hole appeared. That person was terrified. Go! Lin Feng shook his hand, and in a flash, that person burnt down to ashes. Lin Feng was still holding his fire sword as he turned around. He moved like the wind, raising his sword to the west and created a setting sun sword. It didn't look as resplendent and hot as a radiant sword, but it was as red as blood. It was filled with death. Yun Fei Yang was watching Lin Feng, alone with his sword. He was lacerating everything and everyone around him. With each step someone else died. All those cultivators of the 6th Xian-Qi layer were getting slaughtered and had no way to block him. Lin Feng knew how to fuse with the earth for a long time already, and now that he could use sword determination, he was indomitable. Apart from that power, he also had his terrifying pure qi fire, which was next to impossible to extinguish. So that's your real strength, said Yun Fei Yang in a low voice while watching Lin Feng. That Lin Feng was the same as he was before. Natural, free, unrestrained, proud, his sword was annihilating everything and everyone. If anyone dared offend him, he would kill them and nobody would be let off. In that cold and cruel world, Lin Feng had to be a real killer. In this world he learnt and practiced cultivation with a passion. His heart was becoming wider as he became more open-minded. He was understanding the world in which he was living better through each experience. Even though he was becoming a better person, when facing such people he had to be an altruist. He had to be cruel and cold to murder them. Let's go. Lin Feng was terrifying as he slaughtered cultivators of the 6th Xian-Qi layer. He only had the strength of the 5th Xian-Qi layer, but he could slaughter those cultivators with ease. One attack sufficed. They couldn't escape from him and they couldn't stop him. They didn't realize they had challenged a death god. Those people were dying one after the other without the hope to escape. Go. Go where? Said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. They had been chasing him, but now they wanted to escape. It was too late. Lin Feng made a step and pure qi whistled in the air. He was quick, the strength of the Harukas and his fire were mixing together. His fist crashed onto the one who had just said he wanted to leave. Like the others, he immediately burnt along with the ferocious wild beast he was riding. Stop, shouted someone loudly and furiously in the distance. That voice made Lin Feng's head shake. He looked into the distance and saw a group of people surfing in the air. He froze. Those people were extremely fast. It was only a second, but they were next to him. Lin Feng hadn't been escaping before, he was just trying to find another place to fight and kill all those people. Unfortunately, in this short time, he hadn't killed all of them. One of them was left and the strong cultivators of the Deshu clan had already arrived, which put Lin Feng in a difficult situation. The strong cultivators of my clan are here now. They will definitely kill you, said the one Lin Feng was about to kill. He was sneering at Lin Feng. He and his companions had come to encircle Lin Feng, but all the others had died. Now, he was the last one left. His silhouette flickered, his ferocious wild beast beat its wings and moved away. Even if I'm going to die, I can promise you that you will die before me, said Lin Feng, raising his sword, which he held with both hands. His sword was pointing to the sky. All around it, the atmosphere completely changed. It was suddenly filled with sword qi, sword energy, and sword determination. Die! Both of his hands descended, his sword twinkled and a magnificent bright trail appeared behind his sword. The one who was trying to run towards his companions raised his head and hopelessness invaded his eyes. The sword descended swiftly and that person died. Lin Feng had cut that person and his beast into two. Bastard, shouted someone furiously. A shadow was moving towards Lin Feng at full speed. Boom! That shadow was emitting rumbling sounds, it was annihilating everything in the air on its way to Lin Feng. That person wasn't far from Lin Feng at all. That person wasn't the only one, many other silhouettes were following. They were all riding ferocious, wild beasts, but these guys' chi was much stronger than those Lin Feng had just fought against. The weakest people in that group had broken through to the 6th and 7th Xian Qi layers, and there were a few dozen of them. There were a few cultivators of the 8th Xian Qi layer. As far as the leader of the group was concerned, he had broken through to the 9th Xian Qi layer. He was looking at Lin Feng in a despising way. However young that person was, he looked enigmatic and unfathomable. He must have only been about 30 years old. The people of the Deshu clan really had amazing cultivators. Because Lin Feng had killed Miss Deshu, they had to kill Lin Feng and his friends. The leader looked at all the corpses and then stared at Lin Feng. Very well, it's been a long time since anyone dared offend the Deshu clan. You are brave and audacious. That person's eyes looked ice cold. He wasn't going to let Lin Feng off. Lin Feng, Tang Yu and Yunfei Yang were standing together waiting for them to act. How horrible. How were they going to cope with all those strong cultivators? In the distance several silhouettes were flickering. Jun Mo Shi and some others were rushing over. When they saw the cultivators in the sky, they were speechless. What a monstrous group of people. You three, cripple your own cultivation. I don't need to attack you myself. Of course, if you don't cripple your own cultivation, I will attack you. I won't just cripple your cultivation, the result will be much scarier, said that person. He despised Lin Feng and his friends. He wanted them to cripple their own cultivation and then he would bring them back to the Deshu clan as he had been told. Lin Feng was holding sword obliquely and he raised his head. We will never cripple our cultivation, but if you want to fight, let's fight, said Lin Feng resolutely. If he had nowhere to go, then he could only fight to the death. He hadn't thought that such a thing would happen to him in Mi Cheng, but nothing could be changed. He remained fearless and without regret. If he fought and died during a battle, he didn't care. Tang Yu looked absolutely emotionless as well, but it was clear that she wasn't going to cripple her own cultivation either. She would never do such a thing. You are all pretty good, I see, said the 30-year-old man while releasing some terrifying qi which oppressed Lin Feng and his friends. Some of the people from Dragon Mountain got excited while some others frowned. Jun Mo Shi looked calm and solemn as he walked forward slowly. Then, he rose up in the air. If you want to fight, don't forget me, said Jun Mo Shi. And me, said Jian Chen, whose body rose up in the air like a sword. Chapter 605, Shengong. Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu and Jian Chen were running the fastest. They all guessed that he was the real Lin Feng after watching the battle. Although the events leading to Lin Feng's disappearance were very mysterious, he had not died. He snuck his way back into the competition using another alias and some mysterious skill. There was a group of people from Dragon Mountain following those three. They were surprised to see Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu and Jian Chen helping Lin Feng against the terrifying Deshu clan. The group from the Deshu clan were also surprised. They wanted to fight. But, they were more than willing to grant them their deaths. Would anyone else like to go against us? Asked the leader of the Deshu clan group. He was glancing at the people from Dragon Mountain coldly. Qing Meng Xian smiled resplendently and looked at Lin Feng. She found him funny, as well as interesting. She had known that this Lin Feng was the real Lin Feng since Lan Jiao had gone to see Lin Feng that night. What she didn't know was that Lin Feng was so strong. He had broken through to the 5th Xian Qi layer and could easily kill cultivators of the 6th Xian Qi layer. Even Jun Mo Shi is going to fight, could anything happen? Said Qing Meng Xian with a resplendent smile on her face. We have come from Dragon Mountain to participate at the great competition of Shuiyu. If you kill us, who will bear the responsibility? Huh? The leader of the group of people from the Deshu clan frowned and his facial expression slightly changed. They had come from Dragon Mountain to participate to the great competition of Shuiyu. Lin Feng was surprised to see their leader's change in mood. What would he be responsible for? Was there someone protecting the participants of the great competition of Shuiyu? Someone strong enough to discourage the Deshu clan? You may be participating at the great competition of Shuiyu, but you killed my sister, said the leader of the group sounding glum. She was rude and aggressive. If I hadn't killed her she would have killed me. Should I accept such a thing? Said Lin Feng with a cold smile on his face. Hee hee. Qing Meng Xian smiled and said, no matter what, you can sort the problem out after the competition. If you try to before Shingong will be furious. If something happens to the participants before the competition, no matter who you are, the Deshu clan or anyone else, Shingong? Lin Feng was surprised along with several others. What or who was Shingong? From Qing Meng Xian's tone of speech, one could guess that Shingong was stronger than the Deshu clan. Even they were scared to offend Shingong. When the leader of their group heard her, his facial expression drastically changed. He didn't seem as determined to kill as before. If they were all going to participate at the great competition, it meant that they were real heroes. The Deshu clan couldn't afford killing them, otherwise, Shingong would be furious. Even if we can't kill you all, we can kill the one who murdered Miss Deshu. Nothing will happen, said a voice in the distance. That person's voice came from very far away. The leader of the group of people from the Deshu clan was speechless. Who's that? Everybody was glancing right and left but couldn't see anyone, there was no Qi either. There was a voice but nobody else. Distant communication. Jun Mo she frowned, someone was talking to them from a very far distance, more than 50 kilometers. It meant that that person had broken through to the Tian Qi layer, it was a strong cultivator of the Deshu clan. The leader of the group smiled. Finally, he looked at Lin Feng and said, you're the one who killed my little sister, right? Indeed, replied Lin Feng resolutely. I am the one who killed her. Why are you saying that you had, said Yun Fei Yang at that moment. He just arrived on Jun Mo Shi's side and handed Xiao Ye over to Jun Mo Shi. On their side, they could be sure that nothing would happen to Jun Mo Shi, especially since Shingong was there. They wouldn't dare attack the strongest person from Dragon Mountain, a cultivator considered as one of the two strongest participants at the competition. Lin Feng glanced at Yun Fei Yang surprised. Yun Fei Yang had quickly released some monstrous qi. He was fearless. Even if Yun Fei Yang was in danger, he didn't hesitate to kill those who threatened him. Let's say we both killed her, said Lin Feng while smiling at Yun Fei Yang. Immediately after, they looked at the leader of the group. They didn't look scared at all. Even though Lin Feng looked sick with his mask, there was a special aura around his face. Very good. You two will come back with me to the Deshu clan, said the leader. He then transformed into a beam of light moving towards Lin Feng and Yun Fei Yang. You will not take anyone from Dragon Mountain with you, shouted Jun Mo Shi furiously. He had turned into an illusion and collided with the leader of the group in the air. Boom! A muffled sound spread in the air. Their fists had collided. Immediately after, the crowd saw two silhouettes flicker over and over again. They were both dashing through the sky. They were so fast that the crowd could barely follow them with their eyes. So fast. They were so fast. People couldn't even see them. Boom, boom, boom. The atmosphere kept vibrating and their silhouettes constantly looked like beams of light. As they fought, strong winds were forming in the air. Lin Feng walked to Xiao Ye and grabbed her hand. He then raised his head and watched the two fighters. He felt touched, Jun Mo Shi was fighting for him. Slash slash slash. A black hand was moving towards Lin Feng. Tang Yu jumped and raised her fist, destroying that black hand. Give us those two, shouted the leader of the group furiously. Tang Yu looked solemn. Her clothes were fluttering in the wind and she looked particularly cold. No need, said Qing Meng Xen. She then jumped into the air. She also wanted to protect Lin Feng. She even smiled at him and said, I'm helping you again, you must remember me. She then added a particularly seductive smile. Tang Yu was on Lin Feng's right and Qing Meng Xen was on his left. One was blazing hot like fire and the other was as cold as ice, but the qi they started releasing was of the same level. A terribly oppressive force emerged in the air and all the cultivators of the Deshu clan immediately threw themselves at Lin Feng. They wanted to kidnap Lin Feng and Yun Fei Yang. That's enough, said someone at that moment. Everybody stopped surprised. The atmosphere became quite apocalyptic and a terrifying qi rolled in the air from the distance as a face appeared. That's enough. The Deshu clan made a mistake first. Miss Deshu offended people and respected no rules. She chased people from Dragon Mountain to kill them and had instead been killed. You can avenge her but not before the competition. I will not tolerate anything like that. Now all of you go back. That person was talking darkly. He was giving everybody an order that nobody could argue. Jun Mo Shi and the leader of the group stopped fighting. They all understood something, that voice had to do something with Shingong. The members of the Deshu clan were stupefied. Even though they really wanted to kill those people they couldn't, they didn't dare say anything superfluous either. They only nodded and said, we made a mistake, sorry. We're going to leave immediately. The person who spoke turned around and glanced at Jun Mo Shi. Very early tomorrow morning, go to Duo Tian mountain chain for the great competition of Shuiyu. Then, the atmosphere vibrated as everything became normal again. That person left a lasting impression. Early tomorrow morning. Duo Tian. For the great competition of Shuiyu. In the entire region, that person's voice was resonating. He had said it loud enough for everybody to hear him. The competition was finally going to start. What a terrifying soul qi, thought Lin Feng while looking at that person. What were the mysteries of Micheng? How come there were so many strong cultivators here? Besides, what or who was Shingong? Chapter 606, Duo Tian Mountain Chain. Everybody in Micheng knew that tomorrow they had to go to Duo Tian for the great competition of Shuiyu. It was finally starting. It seems like the competition is organized by a third party because the other empires don't know the precise starting time either. No wonder, thought Lin Feng. There were 4 empires at the great competition of Shuiyu, however, those few words didn't suffice to explain it all. That Shingong didn't allow anyone to ruin the competition in any way. Nobody could kill the participants, not even the Deshu clan. One sentence had them with their tails between their legs. Even the cultivator of the Tianqi layer of the Deshu clan hadn't said anything more. Nobody could disobey Shingong. The leader of the group of people from the Deshu clan glanced at Lin Feng and the others and was wanting to say something. He didn't want to disobey Shingong's orders. After the great competition of Shuiyu, if you are still alive we will meet again, he said coldly and then left. Every members of the Deshu clan looked ice cold. This time, Lin Feng and his friends had been lucky. Shingong had saved them this time, but after the competition the Deshu clan wouldn't let them off. They had killed Miss Deshu and so many others from their Deshu clan. This time they weren't able to get their revenge, and had lost so many strong cultivators trying. They wouldn't forget about this, they would get their revenge even it meant waiting. Lin Feng watched as they all disappeared, one after the other. Lin Feng could finally take a breath and relax. There wouldn't be any more problems until the competition now. The first challenge was a huge free-for-all fight. People who were extremely cruel and dangerous would lurk on every side. Besides, there were even some from Dragon Mountain and countries under its jurisdiction who wanted to try and kill him. Only after the death of a certain number of people would he be able to move on to the second round. Lin Feng looked at Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yu, Qing Meng Xin and Jian Chen and nodded to them gratefully. They had been ready to fight for him. If Shen Gong hadn't appeared, the Deshu clan wouldn't have let him off and Lin Feng would have had no choice but to use his evil swords again. Alright. Let's forget about what happened today and instead get ready for the competition. Let's go to Duo Tian, said Jun Mo Shi as if nothing had happened and as if he hadn't helped Lin Feng at all. Everybody nodded. The most important thing for them was the great competition of Shuiyu. Tomorrow the great competition of Shuiyu would finally start, and they had been waiting for that moment for so long. Many were terribly excited and high-spirited thinking about it. If they survived and seized all the opportunities, they would progress and become extremely strong cultivators. Jun Mo Shi took out a memory jade and looked inside. A map of Miqing then appeared in his head and he found the Duo Tian mountain chain on it. He put the memory jade away and said, "Let's go." Jun Mo Shi's silhouette then flickered and whistling sounds spread in the air. The other people from Dragon Mountain then followed him closely. They had never been to Miqing before so they didn't know where the mountain chain was. They had to follow Jun Mo Shi otherwise they would get lost. Lin Feng grabbed Xiaoya's hand, looked at Yun Fei Yang and said, "Let's go." Yun Fei Yang nodded and they left together. Dragon Mountain's large group of cultivators were flying towards Duo Tian. On Lin Feng's left in the air, there were people from Dragon Mountain. Some middle-aged man from Tian Feng looked at Lin Feng, smiled and said, "You haven't died, you're lucky but tomorrow the competition will start." "I'm sure you won't have such luck then, too bad for you, you're so old that you can't even participate to the great competition of Shuiyu. Otherwise you could have seen killing me personally." "Ha ha ha," said Lin Feng mockingly, infuriating that person. Lin Feng was making fun of the man because he couldn't do anything to him. Even though that person's cultivation level was higher than Lin Feng's, he was already too old. Lin Feng was still young and famous, handsome and strong. In the future, he would be even stronger. The middle-aged man was making fun of Lin Feng without thinking. At the same age as him, Lin Feng would be infinitely stronger than he was. Killing people as strong as the middle-aged man would probably be extremely easy for Lin Feng. Lin Feng was humiliating him. "What? It does not matter because my 7 envoys will kill you first at the great competition of Shuiyu. Get ready to die during the first round," said the middle-aged man coldly. He then rolled up his sleeves and flew further. "You're always acting recklessly," said someone else coldly. It was Di Long. He had stopped talking a lot since what happened with Duan Wu Dao. However, he needed something to comfort him so he was using Lin Feng to humiliate and insult. Since he had lost his dignity when facing Duan Wu Dao he was trying to get it back by insulting others. Lin Feng turned his head and smiled at Di Long in an indifferent way. He didn't say anything though, he just smiled for a second and then turned his head again. Di Long was speechless and pulled a long face. He just remained silent again. Silence was even worse than insults. Lin Feng was humiliating him again by ignoring him. "Don't think that you are strong because your cultivation level increased. It means nothing. You didn't die because you're lucky, it could only have been because other people protected you. During the first round of the great competition of Shuiyu, you will die." After saying that, Di Long also flew faster and passed in front of Lin Feng. "It seems like many people want to kill you," said Yun Fei Yang while laughing and looking at Lin Feng. Lin Feng frowned. Some of the people from Shuiyu wanted him to die. Then those people from Tian Feng had attacked him by surprise in the middle of the night. He didn't understand the situation very clearly but he knew that now, there were still some people who wanted him dead. Good, he precisely wanted to kill them too. Apart from the people from Dragon Mountain, there were those from the 3 other empires and even people from Miqing who were rushing over to Duo Tian. The great competition of Shuiyu was about to start, everybody from everywhere wanted to see it. In the middle of the Duo Tian mountain chain, there were 8 mountains. Those 8 mountains were very strange because their peaks were larger than their base, as if they had been turned upside down by someone. Or some deities. It was a most famous place in Duotian. Duotian mountain chain, in the air a silhouette descended from the sky like a god. That person's chi was monstrously powerful. It was Di Ling, possessor of the firmament blood. "Come out," shouted Di Ling. Immediately another silhouette appeared at the top of another of the 8 mountains. It was Duan Wudao from Shuiyu. "You arrived early." An evil chi emerged in the sky as well as some black clouds. A black chi was surrounding a gigantic coffin and had surrounded another of the mountains. A loud noise emerged in the air and a silhouette came out of the coffin. It was obviously Shui Sha from Black Wings. On another mountain there was the chi of a dead tree. Ku Yao Tong appeared. The chi of a sword then whistled in the air and 7 lights appeared. The sound of a zither had also spread in the air. Qi Qing Jian Ling Shao and Lu Yu Qin Yu Shao Shao also arrived. On the 7th mountain, there was Yuemo. The 7 geniuses had arrived first. Chapter 607, before the start the 7 geniuses had all claimed their mountains. Jun Mo Shi was the only one who hadn't arrived. In the air, many silhouettes flickered. These cultivators wanted to go to the top of those mountains, but since there were those scary geniuses there already they wouldn't. They were at first surprised but immediately gave up the idea. Instead, they just sat upon on some stones. Around the mountain chain, many silhouettes were coming. They were the people from Dragon Mountain. They were running in the air and looking at the mountains. Those mountains were like huge stone pillars. The gaps between them were like huge precipices. From those mountains one could enjoy magnificent sights. However, between those mountains the ground was extremely flat and extremely vast. It looked like a palace with a mysterious chi. Even though that mountain chain was famous in Micheng, people from Micheng had never gone to the palace between the mountains. It seemed like a mysterious place. Perhaps that Shingong, whatever it was, could go there. That Shingong was something or someone too mysterious. What a vast mountain chain, thought Lin Feng. The sight was incredible looking up. It looked like another world. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the 8 mountains and the 7 people on them. Lin Feng turned to Jun Mo Shi and said, "There's one mountain for you too." Jun Mo Shi looked at the mountain, shook his head and said, "It's fine if we go to any mountain." He then jumped onto a normal mountain which looked like a stone pillar. Lin Feng smiled, held Xiaoya's hand and jumped on the same mountain as Jun Mo Shi. Then Yun Fei Yang, Jian Chen, Tang Yu Yu and Qing Meng Xan also followed them. People from Tianfeng chose another mountain. Since they were in Duo Tian they didn't need to stay with people from other countries. Even though they were under the jurisdiction of Dragon Mountain, they liked nobody else. As far as they were concerned everyone else were their enemies. They were too inclusive. The other people with them were just going to be a nuisance on their way during the great competition of Shuiyu. More people meant more competition. Even people from Dragon Mountain were enemies in their eyes. Maybe during the great competition of Shuiyu they would even have to kill people from Dragon Mountain. There were more and more people in Duo Tian. Even though the great competition of Shuiyu was going to start the day after, people were still rushing there because they were impatient. Everyone wanted a good seat. There are 81 stone pillar-like mountains in total which are in a 9x9 formation. All the mountains will be so filled with people that some will have to go down to observe, thought the crowd. There would be too many people. In less than 1 hour, there were already a few thousand there and mountain tops were being invaded. Except for where the mountain tops claimed by the strongest cultivators were. Concerning the 7 huge mountains, nobody was going to try. There was still a free one too, but nobody was stepping on it. Who knew what the consequences would be after that? No, there will be fights. Because people can't go down there, said Jun Mo Shi to the person who had just said that if there wasn't enough space on mountain tops, people would have to go down. However, they couldn't go down into that mysterious valley, so the only solution would be to fight to get some space. Get lost. What makes you think you can be here? She had just finished talking when someone had begun fighting. The crowd turned around and saw some people arguing at the top of a mountain. Surprisingly, there were some familiar faces, the Yu clan from Shuiyu. Yu Jian and Yu Qin were there too. We're here for the same thing, right? We want to see great battles. Why couldn't we watch the great competition of Shuiyu together? Wouldn't that be great and comfortable? Said that person while pulling a long face but not losing their temper. PFFFF, you came to watch the competition. We came because 2 people of our Yu clan are going to participate at the great competition of Shuiyu. Nothing gives you the right to sit with us. Piss off, said Yu Lu Shui while making a step forwards and releasing a monstrous amount of qi. They're going to join the great competition of Shuiyu. Some people were wordless. They looked at the 2 young people of the Yu clan. As expected, those 2 young men were extremely strong. Then, that person and the others who were with him left. Yu Lu Shui looked proud of himself. 2 of the young men of their clan were going to participate at the great competition of Shuiyu. What pride, what an honor, what glory. Yu Jian, Yu Qin, there will be many strong cultivators at the competition, so you have to stay together and fight against them together. You will have no problem if you fight that way. During the second round, give all you can and then you will be able to make it to the third round. If you manage to stand on the fighting stage during the third round, that is already amazing. When we go back to Shuiyu, you 2 will be the next most important people after the prince, Duan Wudao, said Yu Lu Shui to motivate his 2 young juniors. Yu Jian and Yu Qin nodded. They knew that they weren't that strong in comparison with other participants, but they were too. If they were careful enough, nothing would happen to them. They hoped that they would manage to survive the first round. You really think too highly of them. They are a joke, said Ting Wu Yao in a cold and detached way. He landed on their mountain and mocked them. Wu Qing was with him. Don't forget that Wu Qing is the 3rd high official, Yu Jian and Yu Qin only ranked 5th. That's the end of the ranking of the list. Since when does the ranking list mean anything? You will see after the competition, said Yu Lu Shui coldly. If they face Tian Ming they will have no chance, said someone else, which surprised Ting Wu Yao and Yu Lu Shui. They turned around and saw Yu Qing Shan looking extremely aggressive. Yu Tian Ming looked at them indifferently and said, nodding, if I face them, they will have no chance at all. They will never be able to win against me. So arrogant, said Wu Qing while groaning coldly like an animal. Too bad Lin Feng has disappeared, I wanted to fight against him. He had sufficient strength to fight against me, but I've never thought highly of you guys. Lin Feng was going places, said Yu Tian Ming. Lin Feng was surprised. Disappeared? He wasn't going to disappoint neither Yu Tian Ming nor Yu Qing Shan. Back then, Yu Qing Shan had still hoped that Yu Tian Ming would fight against Lin Feng for Duan Xinyi. Yu Tian Ming wasn't going to participate at the great competition of Shuiyu with the hope of becoming famous in Shuiyu. He didn't care about that. He wanted to become a monstrously strong cultivator in the entire empire, that was his goal. In the future, he would despise Shuiyu. Lin Feng was like that too. Besides, Lin Feng had to finish amongst the top 9 cultivators of the competition. As if Yu Jian had sensed that Lin Feng was looking at them, he turned his head. What are you looking at, you weak piece of trash? You're just extremely lucky to have made it so far and to be able to participate to the competition, said Yu Jian, his eyes looked like swords. Yu Tianming and Wu Qing were humiliating him and he didn't like it. Good thing Lin Feng was there so he could get angry back at them. Unfortunately, you won't be as lucky, said Lin Feng with a cold smile on his face. He then stopped looking at Yu Jian. Yu Jian was stupefied, but he released some deadly energy to show him his place. That Lin Feng really wanted to die. No need to argue with such people. Now, we need to rest and restore our vitality and energy. In one day, we will need it, said Yunfei Yang while smiling indifferently. He then immediately sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. You're right, said Lin Feng while nodding. He also sat down cross-legged and entered into a trance. He ignored everything in his surroundings and his blood started flowing like a calm river. Chapter 608, The Magical Seeds. It was early in the morning and the atmosphere was gray. Some people were walking up already to break the eerie silence. The entire mountain chain was filled with people. Only 7 of the 8 strange mountains were occupied. People couldn't help but looked at those 7 geniuses. They were real geniuses. It was possible to see that from only looking at their chi. Besides them there were many other cultivators on those 81 mountains which looked like stone pillars. They were either chatting or sitting cross-legged or standing proudly. Apart from those 8 mountains and 81 stone pillars, the other mountains surrounding the area were filled with people who looked like little insects in the far distance. There were too many people. Many hung off the slopes of the mountains. They would still be able to see the vast area that way, especially the flat area at the feet of the mountains. Everyone had guessed that the first round was going to start down there. Lin Feng opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He felt particularly well, like a newborn. He raised his head and looked at the sky. It was getting bright. It was finally going to start. Jun Mo Shi, Tang Yuyu, Qing Meng Xian and Yunfei Yang also looked excited. They had been waiting for this day for such a long time. The great competition of Shuiyu, that wonderful event, was going to start and they had the chance to participate in it. There were only a few others with Jun Mo Shi on his mountain. Yet, nobody dared to take the final 8th strange mountain that was unoccupied. The sun gradually unveiled the entire area. Everybody looked at the sky. They couldn't wait for the competition to start. They couldn't believe it was about to start. Suddenly a hurricane appeared in the air. Rumbling sounds spread in the air. In the flat area at the bottom of the mountains, a silhouette appeared. It was an old man whose skin was as white as snow. His hair was snowy white. He looked very particular. After the first glance one could never forget his odd appearance. That person then stood in the air above that flat area and looked at the crowd. People had the impression that time had stopped when the old man looked at them. He was particularly intimidating. He belongs to Shingong. People from Micheng had immediately guessed that he was a strong cultivator from Shingong. Let me introduce myself. I am an envoy of Shingong. My name is Shui Wuchang. I will be the one in charge of the first round of the great competition of Shuiyu. When he had began speaking, everybody had started whispering. Shingong. What was Shingong? Most people had never heard of Shingong. Was it a sphere of influence in Shuiyu? It seemed like Shingong was quite famous in Shuiyu. Now, the 4 empires have chosen some outstanding disciples to participate at the competition of Shuiyu. All of those geniuses will stand in front of me so that I can see you, said Shui Wuchang. In a flash, he rose high up in the air and moved to the east. People from Dragon Mountain, come next to me, said Jun Mo Shi. In a flash, a myriad of silhouettes flickered and they gathered behind and next to Jun Mo Shi. Xiaoya, please be careful and take care of yourself, said Lin Feng. Xiaoya nodded and said, Bro, don't worry about me, just take of yourself and be careful. All right. I'm off, said Lin Feng. His body emitted whistling sounds while he rose up in the air. In a flash, he was in the middle of all the other people from Dragon Mountain. At the same time, the 7 geniuses at the top of the mountains also started rising up in the air and moving towards their respective groups in the south, north, east and west. The geniuses from all the other countries and empires also meticulously joined their groups. The crowd raised their heads and looked at the geniuses. They were 144. They were the most outstanding geniuses of Shuiyu. They were all very young and were going to play important roles in the future of the Shuiyu. Finally, the cruel competition was going to start. Some geniuses would die, but for others it would be a great opportunity. After the competition, some of them would be able to reach beyond the clouds. Xue Wuchang glanced at them, nodded and said, 144, very good. Please give your best during the competition. It can determine your future. Good luck, said the old man. They had to give their best, the competition would determine their future. Those words were resonating in people's heads. It wasn't an ordinary competition. Alright. First, let me tell you the rules. Under your feet there is a precipice, and down there is the demonic area. If you go there, no matter how high your real cultivation level is, your cultivation level will fall down to the first Xian Qi layer. Your spirit, soul, physical strength and skills will also be restrained, you won't be able to use them. You will only be able to use basic magical powers, said Xue Wuchang slowly. The crowd was stunned. Their cultivation level would only be the first Xian Qi layer down there. And they wouldn't be able to use their skills or other things. That was really too cruel. Indeed. It's exactly the way you think it is. Inside, you will all be of the same level. No matter how high your cultivation level is, the competition is fair, so everyone will have a chance. What we value most during the competition are those with high natural abilities. Everybody will be of the same level. Those who were weak were excited to hear that. They obviously had faith in their natural abilities, but the cultivation level was important. This way they wouldn't get killed by the strongest cultivators directly at the beginning. Alright, let me give you all some seeds. These seeds will teach you skills which you will be able to use in the precipice. Besides that, hay will have many more benefits. Everybody give your best. Those seeds have extremely beneficial effects on your health. You will be pleasantly surprised, said Xue Wuchang, and then stretched his hand in which appeared magnificent and bright seeds. He threw one of them to everybody. The crowd remained there motionless and the seeds all landed between their eyebrows. In a flash, all the geniuses had a shiny seed between their eyebrows. Alright. Jump into the precipice now. It's been waiting for you for 10 years. The opportunity is rare, cherish it. Dangers and benefits coexist, remember that, give your best and you will seize all those great opportunities, explained Xue Wuchang indifferently. Everybody was excited. The great competition of Xueyu was about to start. Would it be dangerous or would it be a great opportunity? It depended on each person. Demonic area, here I am, said Duan Wu Dao while jumping into that precipice and disappearing inside. Di Ling, Xue Sha, Lin Xiao, and all the others all jumped into the precipice. All these geniuses' silhouettes were flickering and jumping into the precipice. Very quickly, Xue Wuchang was the only one left in the air. 144 geniuses had ended up inside. They were going to show what they were capable of. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.